Chapter 229. A lovely little sister was added to Professor Yoon's family. 3-year-old Junhee and his father went to the nursery to see his sister Eunhee. When the nurse was not paying attention, the naughty Junhee swapped the sign of Eunhee and the neighboring child born on the same day. In this way, the children of the two families were swapped by accident. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed, and Junhee had grown into a handsome boy. His excellent painting skills had made him an influential figure in school. The 14-year-old Eunhee was smart and cute and was deeply loved by her family. Brother Junhee dotes on his sister Eunhee, and the two siblings have a deep relationship. Mother Kyungho's care for her only daughter is even more obvious. A generous family environment, a gentle and careful mother, and an excellent brother, all these make Eunhee the object of envy of her friends at school. The paper is ordinary A4 paper, and the normal price is 5 cents. The song typeface printed by the laser is very high DPI, and every stroke is very clear. The typesetting is also very regular and rigorous, making people feel comfortable looking at it. The outline of the script was about 5,000 words long, and it filled 5 sheets of paper. Compared to the story itself, the cost of paper and printing was negligible. As the business manager of Chenda Brothers Pictures Company, there are many scripts that have passed through Liu Yi's hands. He deeply understands the value of a good script. Liu Yi was one of the founding members of the Chenda Brothers Pictures Company. He had followed Zhang Qian and Zhang De to conquer the world together. He had gone through hardships to the present in the capital city, a place of dragons and tigers. His experience and vision were not lacking. The name of the script given to him by Liu Qin is Autumn in My Heart. From the name, one can tell that it is an urban romance drama. Since Liu Qin is going to play the male lead, he must take the route of a youth idol. The beginning of the story is very interesting. The two girls were swapped at birth, and their fate will inevitably arouse the strong interest of the audience. As a business manager, Liu Yi naturally knows the company's business like the palm of his hand. Out of the needs of his work, he has seen at least thousands of movies and TV plays, and he has no impression that the same plot has been filmed. As a weekend play, the beginning has an attractive selling point. At present, the domestic film and television industry was developing rapidly, and the fever of IP was not subsiding. The great prosperity of the market also brought many problems, such as repetitive themes, imitation, plagiarism, and so on. If a TV series was a hit, imitators would definitely flock to it until a similar story pattern was completely ruined. The country's intellectual property laws did not have strict regulations on imitators, and there was no way to restrict them. They could only let the market mediate itself. Therefore, with a good story idea, it was equivalent to winning half the battle. Liu Yi was quite optimistic about Liu Chen's story. But as he continued to read, he soon understood why Zhu Mingyi was not interested in the script. What a sadistic love! Such a style could be said to go against the trend and challenge the audience's taste. Generally speaking, if the quality of this kind of countercurrent work was guaranteed, it would either be a huge hit or a huge failure. The probability of the latter was much higher than the former. It wasn't that there weren't any film companies and directors who courted death, but they basically failed miserably. After so many years of development, the positioning of the TV series market was already very clear. The current youth idol dramas took the route of comedy, farce, and thunder. If you want to shoot a sadistic love story, then shoot a middle-aged drama. If you want to cross the line, you must have the awareness of failure and losing everything. After reading the outline seriously, Liu Yi felt a toothache. The risk was too great. Shooting this show was like gambling. If he won the gamble, he could make a lot of money. If he lost the gamble, the reason why Liu Yi didn't give up immediately was that, first of all, this was a weekend show, and the cost was easy to control. The method of shooting and broadcasting at the same time would not result in a situation where no one would care about it after shooting dozens of episodes. It was like writing an online novel. If the subscription was too low, it could be finished in advance. Of course, it definitely couldn't be left unfinished. In addition, the male lead, Liu Qin, was still very selling. Manager Liu's entanglement, Liu Qin clearly saw it and said with a wry smile, "I know, this theme is not easy to shoot. He also regretted that he didn't have a deep understanding of the domestic film and TV market before writing the script. If he had known that such a situation would happen, it would have been better to write "You" from the start. The production cost might be much higher, but at least it would be easy to find collaborators. However, the thought of regret only flashed in Lu Chen's mind. If no one was willing to invest in it, it was not a big deal for him to fully invest himself. Of course, this approach would lead to a big increase in cost and risk, and it was the last choice as a last resort. Lu Yi said with a smile, "The theme is a bit different, and the story is really good. I think girls should like it." After a pause, he asked, "Mr. Lu Chen, if our company cooperates with you, what requirements do you have?" Lu Yi had just heard some of the dialogue between Lu Chen and Zhu Mingyi, but he didn't hear it very clearly. Lu Chen thought about it and replied, "The requirement is joint investment. I can convert the script and remuneration into shares, and I don't ask for extra payment. In addition, the female lead has been determined, and I hope to recommend a director. Of course, the choice of director can be discussed again." It was the most common way to invest in films and TV series with multiple parties. Of course, Lu Yi would not have any objection, and Lu Chen converting the script and remuneration into investment was also beneficial to the film and television production company, reducing the investment risk. It was just that Lu Chen not only wanted the male lead, but also the female lead and the director. He couldn't help frowning like Zhu Mingyi and asked, "Mr. Lu Chen, which director do you want to recommend?" Lu Chen said frankly, "Do you know director Fang Hui? I want to recommend her." Fang Hui was a well-known director in China. She was famous in the circle for shooting films and dramas that expressed women's delicate emotions. She had also shot many music videos and had extremely rich experience. Compared with the real big stars, she didn't have big sales and popular works, but her reputation had always been very good. The last time Lu Chen and MSN shot the music video of Not Yet Lovers, the director was Fang Hui. The final effect of this music video was excellent, and it was played by Flying Stone Records in major media. Therefore, the album sold so well on QQ Music. At present, the crowdfunding for the CD and peripherals was also in full swing. It was through this cooperation that Lu Chen had a very good impression of Fang Hui, and the two had a lot of communication. He believed that the latter could fully control the story and produce the effect he wanted. Otherwise, why would Lu Chen insist on this condition? Director Fang Hui. Lu Yi suddenly said, "I know her. Although I haven't worked together before, I've watched the TV series she made." Lu Yi thought about it carefully. Lu Chen's recommendation was not unreasonable and reliable, because Fang Hui's shooting style was very suitable for this Autumn in My Heart. Lu Chen explained, "In fact, I haven't mentioned this to director Fang yet, and I don't know if she has time, so it's just a recommendation. If you have a better candidate, it can also be discussed." He originally wanted to discuss it with Zhu Mingyi of Baolong Pictures, but the other party didn't give him a chance at all. Lu Yi looked more sincere. Lu Yi said with a smile, "Well, let's put this problem aside first. Who are you going to choose as the female lead?" There was a rule in the film and television circle, that was, the investment was the biggest, and the one who paid the most money was the master. Whoever paid the most money was the master and would inevitably have the greatest right to speak. Lu Chen wanted both the male lead and the female lead. First of all, he had to invest. Otherwise, who would pay attention to the script alone? Lu Yi was very curious about the choice of the female lead. Who was Lu Chen trying to support? He had finished reading the outline. The female lead in the play was undoubtedly the most brilliant and core character. An artist like Lu Chen, who became famous at a young age, also had money. If he wanted to please a girl, what could be more romantic and touching than letting her be the female lead in a TV series? Lu Chen hesitated for a moment and said, "It's Chen Fei-o." Chen Fei-o. Lu Yi subconsciously read the name. The next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes wide, and his face showed a look of disbelief. "Which Chen Fei-o is it?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "The one you can think of." Lu Yi was directly stunned. He was also a shrewd person, and rarely lost his composure like this. The news revealed by Lu Chen was really too shocking. Who was Chen Fei? She was a big star in the circle with tens of millions of fans, the heavenly queen of the music industry who had debuted for more than 10 years. But Lu Yi quickly came to his senses and was so happy that his face turned into a chrysanthemum. If he had only 2 or 3 points of confidence in this TV series before, then now it had soared to 7 or 8 points. A TV series or a movie, whether or not there was a big star in it, was a completely different thing. Although Chen Fei was not an actor, she had also made cameo appearances in several blockbusters. If what Lu Chen said was true, then this show would be Chen Fei's first time as the female lead. There would be a gimmick for hype. At least there would be no problem in selling it. It was nothing more than a matter of price. With the addition of Chen Fei, the biggest problem of Autumn in My Heart was weakened. As long as her fans could watch it, the ratings would be basically guaranteed. She was equivalent to a heavyweight, enough to be the key to victory. If Chien de Brothers Pictures could take over the production of this show, there would be too many benefits. Even if they lost money, it was not impossible to consider. How could Zhu Mingyi of Baolong Pictures miss this opportunity? The only answer could only be that the other party didn't talk to Lu Chun about this issue and gave up. Then Chien de Brothers must not miss it. He really wanted to laugh, and was undoubtedly glad that he had enough patience and sincerity. Lu Yi restrained his inner excitement and couldn't wait to say, "Mr. Lu Chen, on behalf of Chien de Brothers Pictures, I hope to have a formal discussion with you about the cooperation of Autumn in My Heart!" Lu Chen pondered for a moment and nodded, "Okay." He found that he really underestimated the influence of Chen Fei. If he had said it when talking to Baolong Pictures, it was estimated that Zhu Mingyi's attitude would have been different. Of course, Lu Chen was just thinking about it. Chien de Brothers Pictures might be a good choice. Chapter 230. Chien de Brothers Pictures? That night, when Lu Chen returned home, he called Chen Fei and told him what had happened today. Autumn in My Heart was first declined by Zhu Mingyi of Baolong Pictures, and then the people of Chien de Brothers Pictures took the initiative to come to him. The twists and turns were similar to the story of a novel, so he naturally had to talk to the heroine. Chen Fei knew the name as soon as she heard the other party's name. The company opened by Zhang Qian and Zhang De. I've seen them at a cocktail party before. I heard that the two brothers are very loyal and have a good reputation in the circle. If the conditions can be negotiated, it's okay to let Qian De do it. Lu Chen immediately breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I'll ask your agent to come and talk with us. The TV series, Autumn in My Heart, did not involve many special effects, so the production cost was not high, but Chen Fei's salary was a problem. The salary of TV actors had always been a big problem. If it were written into a paper, it would at least be a thick stack. In the 80s and 90s, the salary of actors was very low. A few hundred yuan per episode, and even a few thousand yuan was a big shot. Nowadays, with the rapid development of the entertainment industry, the cake of the film and TV series market was getting bigger and bigger, and the salary of actors was naturally rising. Popular idols with appeal could easily be paid hundreds of thousands of yuan per episode, and it was not easy to hire them. For example, the big film and TV stars Gao Gu and Su Yuming were quoted more than 1 million yuan to the public, and the actual contract price was also very shocking. It was normal for a long TV series to be shot with a total salary of millions or even tens of millions. Calculating the total cost of a TV series, it was not strange that the actor's salary exceeded the cost of shooting, post-production, and publicity. Everyone was used to it. Especially for weekend TV series, the actor's salary was even more important, often occupying most of the budget. Of course, it was also possible to hire a newcomer, and the salary could be reduced very low, but how could the ratings be guaranteed? Who would be willing to buy it? Therefore, Lu Chen could only ask for a newcomer's price for Autumn in My Heart. Converted into investment shares, the proportion was basically insignificant, but Chen Fei was different. Her status was too high, but she had never shot a TV series, so the calculation of the salary was very complicated. Although Chen Fei did not lack money, he would be laughed at if he gave too much discount. He could not afford to lose face. If it was too high, The partners would definitely have objections, so they had to negotiate and come up with a reasonable distribution plan. Of course, the joint investment of Lu Qin and Qin Feier was more than enough. However, filming a TV series was not something that could be easily done by a film and TV series production company. There were many aspects involved. For example, the approval of the content of the script, the approval of the shooting permit, as well as the production and post-processing. If the film and television company only wanted to process the materials, those with the ability would basically not do it, and those without the ability would just mess around. Therefore, it was necessary to split the profits and let everyone benefit equally in order to ensure the smooth completion of the project. Otherwise, even if a film company accepted Lu Chen's work, even if they signed a contract, they could play some tricks during the filming process and increase the budget. In the end, the gains would not make up for the losses. Nowadays, most of the movies and TV series had attracted investments from many parties, sharing risks and profits, and had long established a very mature process system. As a newcomer who had just entered the film and television industry, Lu Chen had no intention of challenging this set of rules. Not to mention him, even Qin Feier could not act on his own unless he opened his own film and television company. In this way, the partners were very important. Qin Feier said, "I originally had a good impression of Baolong Pictures. Since they don't know how to cherish it." The elder sister was obviously a little unhappy. She asked her friend to connect Lu Chen with Baolong Pictures, but she did not expect that the latter would refuse to cooperate. Lu Chen said with a smile, "They also have concerns. After all, the theme is different from the mainstream. If I didn't pull you out, I guess Qianda may not be willing." "Feier, your name is loud enough." "What name is loud enough?" Qin Feier spat and said angrily, "I'm not a Jianghu heroine. Hurry up and write the rest of the script." So far, Lu Chen had only written the first 4 episodes of the script, and according to the plan, there were still 16 episodes. Qin Feier had a script manuscript, and she was not satisfied with it. In fact, Lu Chen's speed was already very fast. Every morning, he had to go to the Borui Club to practice martial arts and keep fit. He also had to go to Beijing Conservatory of Music to attend classes and study. He also had to find time to write the script. Every day, his schedule was full. For this reason, she helped Lu Chen to push off a lot of announcements and made a lot less money. That is, he opened his own studio and was independent. Otherwise, if he signed with an entertainment agency, how could he get permission? He would have been crushed to death by all kinds of money-making work. Lu Chen scratched his head. "I'll try to speed up." Qin Feier said with a smile, "I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously. Don't tire yourself too much, especially don't work too late at night. It doesn't matter if you're late." Lu Chen felt warm in his heart. It's just that Qin Feier could afford to wait, but some people couldn't wait. The next morning, Qianda Brothers Pictures sent people to Lu Chen's studio to discuss cooperation. In addition to Lu Yi, whom Lu Chen already knew, Qianda Pictures also sent a vice president and a director, fully showing the importance they attached to this TV series. However, Lu Chen basically didn't care about this kind of business negotiation and left it all to his sister to handle. Now the studio was running well, and Lu Shi's accumulated experience was getting richer and richer, which saved him a lot of trouble. Qin Feier also sent his agent, and the representatives of the 3 parties sat down and began formal negotiations. There were some rumors in the entertainment industry, which had always been spread very quickly. And the rumors were confirmed by a blog post posted by Lu Chen in the Waves blog on November 10th, the eve of the so-called Singles Day. In this blog post, Lu Chen revealed a major piece of news to everyone. That is, a TV series he created and starred in would start shooting in the near future. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Since crowdfunding to help leukemia patients, Lu Chen has been very quiet. Except for the daily updates of his blog posts, he basically didn't make any news, which made his fans a little depressed. Even if it's just a scandal, there's always a topic to talk about. Now Lu Chen finally provided a topic. The response of fans was extremely enthusiastic, and the number of clicks and comments on the blog post kept rising. Relying on the 2 things of hero saving the beauty and helping fans, the number of Lu Chen's fans on the Waves blog has long exceeded the 10 million mark. As a newcomer singer who has just debuted, his move to develop into the film and television industry is really impressive and naturally caused a heated discussion. Wow, Lu Chen is going to shoot a TV series. It's great. I've long said that our Lu Chen can rely on his face to make a living. Now the opportunity has finally come. Support, hurry up and shoot it. Weekly asking, who is the heroine? Has anyone chosen? Compared to the heroine, I'm more concerned about the script written by Lu Chen himself. Can you give me a spoiler? I have a hunch that this is a tragedy of dog abuse. Tomorrow is Singles Day. I wish everyone a happy holiday in advance. I'm also asking who the heroine is. On the evening of November 11th, Lu Chen updated his blog again and answered the few questions that his fans were most concerned about. First of all, the TV series he created is an urban romance theme, a youth idol genre. Second, the name of the TV series is Autumn in My Heart. Starting tomorrow, the blog will continue to update part of the story in the form of a novel. In the future, after the filming is over, the official book will be released. Finally, the heroine of Autumn in My Heart is confirmed to be Chen Fei. If the news of Lu Chen shooting a TV series was said to have caused a heated discussion, then this spoiler blog post has undoubtedly caused a great sensation both inside and outside the industry. The reason is very simple. The music queen Chen Fei will make her first appearance in a TV series as the heroine. There is no doubt about the authenticity of the news, because Lu Chen Fei are at the end of the blog post. The latter replied after only 10 minutes. I'm looking forward to it. Plus a smiley face emoji. Of course, Lu Chen didn't post these two blog posts on a whim, but it was a planned publicity warm-up. After the efforts of the three parties, the agreement to shoot Autumn in My Heart was basically reached. The script outline has been sent to the relevant departments for review in advance. Once it is approved, they can start shooting immediately. Due to the addition of Chen Fei, Chanda Brothers Pictures attached great importance to this project. Not only did they make a lot of concessions on the agreement, but they also gathered elite personnel to form a shooting crew. Many staff members went to Jinling in advance. 90% of the shooting locations and scenes of Autumn in My Heart were completed in Jinling and Jinling Film City. Of course, Chanda Brothers Pictures did not have no requirements. One of them was that they hoped that Lu Chen and Chen Fei would use their respective channels to promote in advance and attract powerful TV stations and video websites to compete for the premiere rights. This was not a crooked way, but a conventional method of film and television marketing. Many movies and TV series were sold off before they could even start filming, and they recouped all their costs. It was just that many single people were abused miserably because of this. What the F***ck? Is this a public show of affection? Oh my goddess, my heart is broken. I originally guessed that the heroine would be Chen Fei, and I guessed it right. Chen Fei? I really didn't expect it. It seems that the previous scandal between the two may be true. What do you think? I'm really speechless. Lu Chen and Chen Fei have a very good relationship. They are brother and sister. Don't you know? Chen Fei as the heroine, is it a sibling love? Sibling love +1. Public opinion was like a tide, and Autumn in My Heart soon became a hot search term on Waves blog. Chapter 231. Jinhui Building, Aochuang Film and Television Production Company. Inside the office, Yan Qingyi closed the web page that was opened on the browser and sighed heavily. What he had just closed was the page of the Waves blog. What made the director sigh was the news that had been circulating on the blog in the past 2 days. That was, Chen Fei was going to shoot a TV series, and the actor she was going to work with was Lu Chen, who had been rumored to have a scandal. This series, called Autumn in My Heart, has been hyped up before it started shooting. The scriptwriter was actually Lu Chen, a young man who rose rapidly in the pop music world and showed his ambition to develop in the film and television industry. Originally, Aochuang Film and Television could have signed him. Thinking of this, Yan Qingyi was really helpless. He racked his brains to prepare for the shooting of the second season of Urban Love, and chose Lu Chen as an important supporting actor in the new series. In addition to his appearance and strength and other factors, he also took a fancy to the latter's popularity among young people. The tens of millions of fans in Lu Chen's Waves blog could at least increase the ratings by a few tenths of a point. As a result, he never expected that he was made a fool of by the investors during the audition. He rejected Lu Chen and replaced him with the so-called little fresh meat, Jiang Dongjun, and took away the role of Chen Yaoyang. Yan Qingyi felt that his face had been slapped swollen. During the shooting of the first season of Urban Love, he had a little conflict with the investors. He thought that this kind of work disagreement would not affect the cooperation between the two sides, but it turned out that he was still naive. For Jiang Dongjun, to be honest, Yan Qingyi really disdained him. Apart from a feminine face, he had no acting skills and no strength. How could he play a handsome, brave and extraordinary policeman like Chen Yaoyang? Thinking that he still had to pinch his nose to shoot this TV series, he was really a little discouraged. As for Lu Chen's decision to shoot a TV series, director Yan secretly sneered. He knew that this was Lu Chen's powerful counterattack against Jiang Dongjun and the people behind Jiang Dongjun. Although Yan Qingyi was not young, his attention to the internet was no less than that of young people. He knew clearly that Jiang Dongjun and his agency had stepped on Lu Chen in different media to hype up. The entertainment industry was just that sinister. Lu Chen had always ignored this and maintained his silence, not giving them any more opportunities to hype up. But his silence was obviously not because he was swallowing the insult and retreating, but because he was retracting his fist first. Then it was a heavy blow. This punch was very beautiful. It directly pulled out a big shot like Chen Fei. The publicity effect was 100 times better than Jiang Dongjun's little tricks. It was a slap in the face. What are you pretending to be? I'm too lazy to play with you. If you want to play, let's play it big. Yan Qingyi silently filled in the lines for Lu Chen. He could even guess that this Autumn in My Heart would probably compete head-on with the second season of Urban Love in the ratings. At that time, there would really be a good show to watch. As the director of Urban Love, Yan Qingyi was somewhat gloating. Although he has not seen the script yet, his intuition tells the director that with Chen Feier's participation, Autumn in My Heart is likely to be a hit and sell well, and Urban Love will be completely destroyed. Unless Urban Love staggered the time and did not collide with the other party. But is that possible? Yan Qingyi shook his head. Alchuang Film and Television and the investors have already finished their preparations, and the publicity has also begun. There is no reason to postpone it. Yan Qingyi suddenly had the idea of giving up on continuing to direct. He didn't want to be a scapegoat. Compared with Yan Qingyi's lack of confidence, Zhu Mingyi, the deputy manager of Baolong Pictures' production department, was much more confident. He also saw the news that was spreading on the internet, but he didn't take it seriously. To be honest, Lu Chen actually invited Chen Feier to be the female lead in the play, which surprised Zhu Mingyi. If Lu Chen had invited Chen Feier out when he was talking at the time, it would still have been negotiable. Now that he has missed it, Zhu Mingyi didn't feel much pity. If his show can't succeed, it's the same with Chen Feier. Zhu Mingyi confidently said to his immediate boss, the deputy general manager and art director of Baolong Pictures, "It's too cruel. The audience won't like it. Chen Feier's salary can't be low. The risk of our investment is too great. The most important thing is that Lu Chen's offer is very high, and I can't agree to it at all." The art director of Baolong Pictures, whose surname was Wu, was also an old fox who had been in the circle for a long time. He nodded and said meaningfully, "If that's the case, then there's no problem. You know what to do." Zhu Mingyi smiled and said, "Boss Wu, I understand." After Director Wu left, Zhu Mingyi sat back in his chair, picked up the teacup and took a sip. But he found that the tea was already cold. He frowned, and there was a layer of haze in his heart, which made him feel indescribably unhappy. This thing. It's true that people sit at home and disaster comes from the sky. Zhu Mingyi complained about Sister Li, the general manager of Beijing's Rainbow Brokerage Company. If the other party hadn't introduced Lu Chen, he wouldn't have been involved in this mess and upset. Zhu Mingyi's confidence in front of Director Wu was actually mostly pretended. Chen Feier's card was too unexpected. He suddenly regretted his attitude towards Lu Chen at that time. He really didn't pay enough attention to him. At the same time, in the Blue Court Cafe on the top floor of the Jinghua Hotel adjacent to the Blue Sky Entrepreneurial Park, Sister Li, who Zhu Mingyi was complaining about, was sitting with Chen Feier and Lu Chen. Sister Li's full name was Li Jinjin. It was said that when she was a teenager, she came to Beijing from the inland countryside to make a living after graduating from junior high school. She worked as a waiter in a restaurant, swept the streets, sold insurance, and then seized the opportunity to squeeze into the circle. She started from a small assistant and finally became the general manager of a sizable brokerage company. Her life experience could be made into a long TV series. Sister Li was very fat. Her weight of more than 200 pounds made her whole body round. Her appearance was quite festive. When she smiled, she looked like a female version of Maitreya Buddha. She also wore a pair of small gold-rimmed glasses. In Beijing Circle, Sister Li was famous for her forthright and righteous character. She rarely treated the contracted artists of Rainbow Agency harshly, and if anyone wanted to leave, she would never deliberately make things difficult. But she was also very shrewd. She had a wide network in the industry, especially in the upper echelons. She was very successful in the circle, and not many people dared to look down on her. Of course, Lu Chen didn't dare to look down on her. His attitude was polite and respectful. Sister Li had a very good relationship with Chen Feier. She helped her a lot in her early years. Originally, Lu Chen was in contact with Baolong Pictures. It was this big sister who introduced them. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and in the end, it fell to Qianda Pictures. Regarding this result, Sister Li complained to Chen Feier, "You should have told me earlier that you wanted to be the female lead. Then I wouldn't have introduced Baolong Pictures to you. You should have talked to China Film and China Television, right?" China Film and China Television were giants in the film and television industry. They were the real giants. Sister Li wasn't bragging. She really had the means to approach China Film and China Television. Chen Feier smiled and said, "Sister Li, how could China Film and China Television like him? Even if the script is chosen, he has no chance as the male lead. I don't want you to owe me a big favor." In the eyes of China Film and China Television, there was indeed no small figure like Lu Chen. Chen Feier was barely qualified. It was impossible for Lu Chen to raise conditions with these two giants. That would be meaningless. Good cooperation required equal qualifications. It was better to be a chicken's mouth than a cow's tail. Chen Feier, of course, understood the principle. Sister Li said with a smile, "You are so considerate of him. Are you two really in a relationship?" Chen Feier suddenly blushed. "Sister Li, we are just friends." Sister Li smiled and shook her head. She said to Lu Chen, "Xiao Lu, Feier is so good to you. Don't let her down." What kind of person was she? How could she not see the ambiguous relationship between the two? Lu Chen could only smile bitterly. It wasn't good for him to agree, but it was also wrong not to agree. He didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, Sister Li didn't continue to pursue the matter. She said the purpose of meeting with Lu Chen this time. "Xiao Lu, I have read the script of Romance in My Life. I want a role. Is that okay?" Lu Chen said without hesitation, "No problem." He didn't ask which role. Previously, when Chen Feier called him and said that Sister Li wanted to meet him, she told him a lot of things. Therefore, Lu Chen knew that this big sister was one of Chen Feier's benefactors in life. She had helped him a lot. Most importantly, Sister Li had a lot of connections in the entertainment circle, which was very helpful to Lu Chen's career. Now that she took the initiative to make a request, if Lu Chen hesitated and was overcautious, not only would he lose points, but he would also embarrass Chen Feier. His performance would be too bad. Sister Li was very curious. "You agreed so quickly without asking which role it is. What if I want the male lead?" Lu Chen said casually, "If Sister Li really wants the male lead, it's not a problem at all." Lu Chen wasn't pretending to be polite. He could write a lot of classic scripts. As long as he could open up the scene, he would have a chance to be the male lead in the future. Of course, he agreed so quickly because it was obvious that Sister Li was joking. However, Sister Li was very satisfied and happy. She said to Chen Feier, "Feier, the boy you chose is really good. You have to hold on to him tightly. Don't let him run away." Chen Feier covered his face with his hands. After Sister Li made Chen Feier so embarrassed that he couldn't face anyone, she smiled and said to Lu Chen, "Actually, I really want the male lead, but it's a young male lead. It's my son who has been clamoring to act, so this time I'll give him a chance." Lu Chen suddenly understood. The first few episodes of Romance in My Life required a young male and female lead. There weren't many scenes, but it was still very important. Chapter 232. This is my son. Sister Li opened the saved photo on her phone and proudly showed it to Lu Chen. The teenager on the screen was sunny and handsome. He was 15 or 16 years old, the beginning of his youth. He looked full of vitality in his school uniform and had the temperament of a boy next door. Sister Li obviously did not ask for the role randomly. Her son's appearance was really suitable for the role of the teenager Yin Juanxi. He is currently studying at Beijing Film Academy affiliated high school. His results have always been good and he has taken basic acting courses. Sister Li was full of pride when talking about her son, just like any mother. Her marriage was a story that was often talked about in the industry. When Sister Li established herself in Beijing and started to expand her career, she met an artist who had been in trouble for a long time and fell deeply in love with him. This artist was handsome and had a lot of luck with women. Logically speaking, he would not be interested in Sister Li. However, he married Sister Li and had a child. He received the latter's wholehearted support. In the end, he rose to the top with a hit TV series and became a hot star. After he became famous, this artist proposed to divorce Sister Li. Sister Li readily agreed. Her only request was to have custody of her son. When others talked about it, they all felt it was unfair for Sister Li and said that the artist was an ingrate. However, Sister Li never mentioned anything wrong with her ex-husband. Instead, she put in a good word for him on many occasions. She felt that it was enough to have a very good memory of her life. Moreover, she had a son who inherited his father's good qualities. It was this optimism and open-mindedness that earned Sister Li the respect of many people in the industry. Lu Chen has heard this story and admired the other party's character. The matter was finalized. Qian de Brothers Pictures was very sincere in the cooperation. It was not a problem to get a supporting role for only 3 or 4 episodes. The cooperation agreement between the two parties was basically finalized. As long as the script passed the review, they could start filming immediately. At 7 o'clock that evening, Lu Chen began to update the novel version of Autumn in My Heart in the form of a long blog post on Immerse blog. Unlike other star artists who hired copywriters or professionals to polish their books, the novel version of Autumn in My Heart was written by Lu Chen himself. He only had the help of the studio to proofread the wrong words. This was an important means of early publicity for the TV series Autumn in My Heart. Although there was a great risk in revealing spoilers in advance, it could attract the continuous attention of a large number of fans. Using the huge platform of the blog, the advertising fees saved was not a small amount. On November 13th, the outline of Autumn in My Heart passed the review of the relevant departments. On the same day, Lu Chen participated in the Beijing television station Variety Channel's Celebrity Interview program recording. He had been very busy recently. His daily work schedule was packed to the brim. Even at night, he had to sit in front of the computer and type out scripts and novels. He slept and rested for no more than 6 hours. Under such circumstances, many jobs were turned down, but some invitations could not be turned down, nor could they be turned down. For example, this Celebrity Interview program. Beijing television station had a total of 9 channels. Other than Department 1's Beijing Television, which was a satellite channel, there were 2 variety channels, 3 finance channels, 4 lifestyle channels, 5 film channels, etc. The Variety Channel's Celebrity Interview program was Beijing television station's Department 2's premium program. It had a history of 3 years. It was produced once a week and had invited more than 100 celebrities from the entertainment industry. This program's ratings were quite high. The reason why Lu Chen could go on it was because he had a good working relationship with Beijing television. Otherwise, with his qualifications, he would not have been able to get on it. Like most variety programs, Celebrity Interview used a recording method. The recording location was Beijing television station's T5 Broadcasting Hall. Compared to the newly opened T1 Broadcasting Hall, T5 Broadcasting Hall was undoubtedly much smaller. It could only accommodate 300 audience members. The stage was not big, but it was more than enough to record a talk show. The host of Celebrity Interview was called Mu Rong. She was a knowledgeable woman with a refined temperament. Her style of conversation was gentle and humorous. She never made the interviewee feel pressured. It was like two friends having afternoon tea and chatting together, talking about their troubles in life and work, or their feelings in life. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The star I invited to this program is a very special boy. He has extraordinary musical talent. He once won the championship of Singing China. His debut album was very popular, and all his songs were on the original music chart. He is regarded as the new hope of originality in the pop music world. He is also the founder of campus folk songs. He is Lu Chen. Under Mu Rong's slightly sensational introduction, the music of You Who Sat Next to Me sounded, and Lu Chen stepped onto the stage. Welcome, everyone. There was immediate warm applause in the studio. Many fans who were invited to the scene raised small signs with Lu Chen's name written on them and smiled very happily. As he walked, Lu Chen smiled at them and thanked them. Thank you. Of the 300 audience at the scene, half were Lu Chen's fans. These lucky fans registered through the internet and telephone, and finally were screened by Beijing TV station. The other half were ordinary enthusiastic audiences and TV station staff, commonly known as official support. Hello, Lu Chen. Mu Rong took the initiative to extend her hand to Lu Chen. Welcome to the Celebrity Interview. Lu Chen shook hands with her and said, Thank you. It's my honor. The host was in her 40s, but because of good maintenance, she looked just in her early 30s. Her appearance was dignified, her makeup was exquisite, and her soft voice and smile made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. There were 4 cameras at the scene, and 3 of them were aimed at Lu Chen and Mu Rong. This was Lu Chen's first time participating in such a talk show, but he was not nervous at all. He sat down on the sofa very relaxed. Mu Rong smiled and said, Lu Chen, I think many of the audience might not know much about you. Can you first tell us how you embarked on the path of music? Usually, in such a talk show, the host's questions were preset. As an invited guest, Lu Chen had received the questions in advance, but for the effect and authenticity of the program, the host would also suggest additional questions, so he had to improvise. The first question was a conventional question. Lu Chen nodded and said, All right. Actually, it was really an accident that I embarked on the path of music. He gave a simple account of his experience, without deliberately exaggerating or embellishing it. What he said was what most fans knew. When he finished, Mu Rong continued to ask, Then what plans do you have for your future? The first few questions were quite normal, and there was nothing special about them. However, Mu Rong quickly mentioned something interesting. She first showed everyone a video, which was played on the big screen LCD TV next to her. The content was the video of Lu Chen saving people in Hangzhou. After the short video of more than 2 minutes was played, there was another warm applause in the studio. Lu Chen's fans had seen this video, and many people had seen it many times. But now watching it again, it was still a thrilling feeling, and they could not help applauding and cheering for him. Mu Rong smiled and said, I think the most enthusiastic applause was from the girls. I believe that the girls will be very moved when they see this video. It let us know a really brave and admirable young man. There was suddenly laughter in the audience. Many girls covered their mouths and laughed. The camera gave a close-up shot in time. Mu Rong asked Lu Chen, At that time, you must have rushed to save people without thinking. Otherwise, it would be impossible for you to move so quickly. Then, when you watched this video later, did you have any fear? Some reporters and media had asked Lu Chen what he thought at that time, but Lu Chen did not think at that time. As Mu Rong said, if he still thought about it, he would not have been able to save Tian at all. The host changed the angle of the question. Lu Chen replied, I was not afraid. I wanted to thank the cameraman for making me so handsome. His humorous answer not only made the audience laugh, but also Mu Rong showed her 8 white teeth. Mu Rong asked with a smile, "Did your family worry about you when they saw it?" Lu Chen said, "My mother was very worried, but she thought I did a good job and made her proud." Mu Rong said sincerely, "You have a good mother." Lu Chen nodded and said, "Yes." There was another round of applause. Mu Rong said, when he was interviewed by reporters, "I remember Lu Chen's words very clearly. That is, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. He has more ability than ordinary people like us, and he is also brave to take his own responsibility." We all know that Lu Chen's family has owed a lot of debts, but he is still willing to give his love. Please look at the following video, which was shot by our reporter in the Department of Hematology and Oncology of the First People's Hospital of Ningyuan City. Many leukemia patients were shown on TV. They were all helped by the crowdfunding project launched by Lu Chen, including Meng Meng. This fan of Lu Chen has successfully received a bone marrow transplant and is currently in the recovery stage. Because of the good effect of the operation, she will soon live like a normal person and enjoy a good life to the fullest. In the video, Meng Meng expressed her gratitude to Lu Chen on behalf of all the leukemia patients who were treated. She smiled and shed tears as she spoke. The applause in the studio lasted for a long time. Chapter 233. It was very common for stars and celebrities to do charity activities, and the public was used to it. For example, Qin Fei, who spends millions of yuan on charity every year, was also awarded the title of China Philanthropy Ambassador, so she was officially recognized. And this honor also allowed her to ignore many of the rules of light and dark in the circle, which was equivalent to adding a layer of amulet. Therefore, many stars were very keen on doing charity to improve their status and reputation. Lu Chen donating money to sick fans was not something worth writing home about. But the charity crowdfunding project he launched to help Meng Meng, leukemia patients, was extraordinary. The project ended on the 26th with a total of 4.7 million plus charity funds raised, and a total of 12 leukemia patients, including Meng Meng, were in urgent need of help. Mucan crowdfunding company has published all expenditure accounts and follow-up funding arrangements on its official website. Through the dissemination of Wave's blog, what was originally Lu Chen's personal behavior, with the support of many celebrities in the circle, has become a charity activity participated by the whole people, forming a great social influence. It was precisely because of this that Lu Chen was interviewed by the central-level China Youth Daily. Mu Rong's interview with Lu Chen focused on this aspect. It was not only a different way to create a topic, but also a kind of political correctness. And Beijing television station's interview video with leukemia patients who have been helped is even more touching, and the effect of the program was highlighted. Whether it was Lu Chen's fans, ordinary audiences, or staff, the applause was warm and sincere. In their view, Lu Chen did a great thing. The significance was completely beyond his heroic rescue of Tian Tian. Lu Chen put his hands together and modestly thanked the audience. He said sincerely, "I'm ashamed. In fact, it's a lot of warm-hearted people who really contributed. Without everyone's help, the crowdfunding activity would never have been so successful. In addition, I would like to thank Big Brother Tan Hong and Sister Qin Fei. They all donated a lot of money." Mu Rong said seriously, "In my opinion, this charity crowdfunding is telling us that there are countless kind people around us. When we need help, there will always be someone to lend a helping hand." Lu Chen nodded. Mu Rong turned her head and said to the audience with a smile, "I've talked so much with Lu Chen, so now it's time to give the opportunity to our audience. Do any of you have any questions for Lu Chen?" The 45-minute celebrity interview program had been recorded for 20 minutes. The conversation between Mu Rong and Lu Chen was basically within the predetermined framework, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. For an interview program, this was definitely too serious and formal. Hence, there was the audience's Q&A session. There were no strict rules or restrictions on the audience's questions, which made it more interesting and interactive. The format of the recorded broadcast also ensured that no mistakes would appear on the television screen. As soon as Mu Rong finished speaking, more than 200 arms were raised. Mu Rong smiled and said, "The audience is very enthusiastic. Who should I choose to ask the first question?" She purposely pondered for a moment before saying, "Let Lu Chen choose for himself." Lu Chen laughed involuntarily and pointed big at a girl in a white dress sitting in front of him. The girl in the white dress looked like she was in her teens. She took the microphone from the staff and asked, "Big brother Lu Chen, do you have a girlfriend?" Her bold and direct question immediately made the audience burst into laughter. Mu Rong also laughed. This question involves Lu Chen's privacy. In fact, it was not out of line. Topics that were out of line would naturally be cut in the post-production. Lu Chen smiled and said, "I did in the past, but I don't have one now. But I will definitely have one in the future. Thank you." Everyone laughed and applauded. The girl in the white dress asked again, "Then can you tell us what kind of girl you like?" Her eyes were fiery. She did not hide her love and admiration for Lu Chen at all. She was that direct. Lu Chen thought for a moment and replied, "I haven't thought about this question. In fact, liking someone is a kind of feeling. It's not about what kind of person the other party is. There is no perfect person." When answering this question, he could not help but think of Chen Fei. Did Lu Chen like Chen Fei? The girl in the white dress wanted to continue asking, but Mu Rong did not give her a chance. She asked Lu Chen to choose the next questioner. Lu Chen pointed to a boy. The boy stood up very excitedly and almost failed to catch the microphone that was handed to him. He asked, "Lu Chen, may I ask how you did the clothes flapping action in the rescue video?" Lu Chen did not expect that he would ask this question. However, there was nothing to hide. He replied, "This action is actually a move in traditional martial arts. It is called Overlord Armor Removal. As long as you practice more, you can also do it." The boy's eyes lit up. "Can you demonstrate it again?" Lu Chen, Mu Rong was considerate. "Student, please watch the video. After all, it is not convenient to demonstrate it here. Thank you." This was an interview show, not a martial arts performance. His request was a bit too much. The boy also realized his mistake and was so embarrassed that his face turned red. Lu Chen helped him out. "Well, next time I will take a video of practicing martial arts and upload it to my blog." He could understand the boy's curiosity. Which man did not have the dream of being a hero saving a beauty? The boy was grateful. "Thank you." Then Lu Chen chose 3 more audience questions and answered them one by one. Finally, the microphone returned to Mu Rong's hand. She asked, "Lu Chen, who do you want to thank the most for your achievements now?" This was a very official question. When Mu Rong asked this question, many figures flashed through Lu Chen's mind. Su Bo, Mo Ran, Fang Mingyi, Chen Jinhao, Tan Hong, Chen Fei. Some came from dreams, and some from reality. In the end, there was only one name left in his heart. Lu Chen replied, "The person I want to thank the most is my mother." Mu Rong's eyes were gentle. She asked softly, "Can you tell me why your mother is your mother?" Lu Chen was silent for a moment and said, "First of all, there would be no me without my mother, and I would not be sitting here today. Second, my mother taught me a lot of life principles. She taught me to be strong and independent." Although this was a TV show, when it came to this question, Lu Chen was still willing to bare his heart. The person he was most grateful to was his mother. Mu Rong quietly listened to Lu Chen and asked, "Then here, in our interview program, what do you want to say to your mother?" Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "In fact, like most people, I'm not very good at expressing my feelings. I'll express it in a song to the person I love." Easterners were different from Westerners. The expression of their feelings was often very implicit. They would not often say, "I love you," but would only express it with action. Mu Rong's eyes suddenly lit up. "That's great." There was no need for her to encourage. The audience spontaneously clapped their hands. The staff on the scene sent a guitar to Lu Chen. Lu Chen held the guitar and tried it. After there was no problem, he said, "This song is for my mother. Its name is When You're Old." He gently plucked the strings and played the prelude. The studio immediately became extremely quiet. Everyone listened carefully to the sound of the piano and listened to the voice from Lu Qin. When you're old and your hair is white, you're drowsy. When you're old and can't walk, dozing by the fire, recalling youth. How many people have loved your youth and happy hours? Loving your beauty, hypocritically or sincerely, only one person still loves your devout soul, loving the wrinkles on your old face. When you're old and your eyebrows droop, the lights are dim and uncertain. The wind blows, your news, that's the song in my heart. This song, When You're Old, was adapted from the famous poem, How You're Old by the Irish poet Yeats. The original poem was written by the poet to the lover he had never pursued in his life. The feelings were delicate and real. Now, after the adaptation, it was sung by Lu Qin to his mother. It also has the charm of touching the soul. The whole song was soothing and warm, with strong folk characteristics. There was no exciting climax, but it was meaningful and profound, extremely pleasant to listen to, and deeply infected all the audience present. Beauty is easy to grow old and youth is easy to pass away. It was the law of life. It was also human nature to love beauty and be reluctant to be young. And when a mother dedicated all her youth to her children, how could this feeling be repaid? When you're old and your hair is white, sleepy and uncertain. When you're old and can't walk, dozing by the fire, recalling youth. How many people have loved your youth and happy hours, loving your beauty, hypocritically or sincerely? Only one person still loves your devout soul, loving the wrinkles on your old face. When I'm old and my eyebrows droop, the lights are dim and uncertain. The wind blows, your news, that's the song in my heart. When I'm old, I really hope I'm singing this song for you. Lu Qin's singing, from soothing to high-pitched, full of emotion but not excited, like a cloud tide rushing up the snowy peak, immediately drifting away, gradually returning to calm, leaving a lingering sound. Until he put down the guitar, all the audience seemed to wake up from a dream and applauded desperately. Sitting across from Lu Qin, Mu Rong's eyes had already turned red. She rarely showed such true feelings in her own program, but Lu Qin's song really moved her. Mu Rong was already 40 years old and a mother of 2 children. Was there a child who would sing for her like Lu Qin? When you're old, only one person still loves your devout soul, loving the wrinkles on your old face. Note: When You're Old, original author, Yeats, adapted/composed, Zhao Zhao. Chapter 234. This issue of Celebrity Interview was recorded for nearly 70 minutes. This meant that more than a third of the content would be cut and would not appear on the TV screen. But it didn't matter. When You're Old was enough to make this issue of Celebrity Interview very exciting. After the interview ended, Mu Rong even felt a little unsatisfied. She had supported hundreds of programs, and there were very few people who had the same feeling. Probably to make up for the regret in her heart, Mu Rong specially invited Lu Qin to a coffee shop near the TV station. She was not alone, accompanied by a deputy director of the Beijing TV station Variety Channel program team. The deputy director, surnamed Zhu, was a burly man from the north, with a straightforward personality and a loud voice. Of course, Director Zhu did not come out to chat with them. He had his eyes on the upcoming Autumn in My Heart. To be precise, Beijing TV Department 2 was quite interested in this TV series. In fact, ever since Lu Qin announced the shooting of Autumn in My Heart on his blog and the news that Chen Fei, or would be the female lead, there were a lot of units interested in this weekend TV series. There were TV stations, advertisers, middlemen, and most of them were entertainment management companies. The former came to inquire about the price, while the latter wanted to play a role. Although Lu Qin was a pure newcomer in the film and television industry with the golden signboard of Chen Fei, even if it was a bad movie, he could still get a lot of attention, and there was no lack of people willing to bet on it. At present, the scale of the domestic film and television industry was very large, and the number of TV series shot every year was rising steadily, reaching a quite amazing level. And of these TV series, at least 90% could not be broadcast on the provincial and central TV stations. Many of them could not even be seen by the city TV stations. They could only be put on the internet and rely on click traffic to make some money. The truly powerful online media also only picked the best products to promote. Therefore, it was really incredible for Lu Chen, who was not in the film and television industry and was a newcomer who had just made his debut, to suddenly write his own script, be the male lead, and find partners to shoot a TV series by himself. However, this kind of fooling around was so successful that it made countless people jealous and envious. In the final analysis, Chen Fei was the key. Autumn in My Heart was Chen Fei's first TV series. Relying on her golden signboard alone, she can save tens of millions of publicity and hype costs. It is very normal for Beijing TV Department 2 to be interested. Even now, by the opportunity of Star Interview to contact Lu Chen, it is already very reserved. However, director Zhu had found the wrong person to talk to about this matter with Lu Chen. Autumn in My Heart was a project led by Lu Chen, but he left all the investment, publicity, and sales to his sister, Lu Shi. Therefore, when director Zhu tried to inquire about the price, Lu Chen could only give him Lu Shi's contact number. Selling a TV series to a TV station was a very complicated matter. Generally speaking, according to the TV series, an episode could cost anywhere from hundreds of thousands to millions. There were too many factors that affected the price, such as the script, the actors, the director, the theme, and so on. It could also be sold to multiple TV stations for a premiere, or it could be an exclusive premiere, with different prices. In addition, if the ratings of the premiere were high, the price of the rebroadcast would be very high. There were many examples of the premiere not making money, but relying on the rebroadcast to make a lot of money. However, more often than not, many TV series were door-to-door sales, and they couldn't get what they wanted even if they were half sold and half given. Therefore, although Lu Chen couldn't promise director Zhu anything, he was still very polite. Maybe he would have to beg him in the end. And director Zhu also had his own reservations. His interest in Autumn in My Heart was not too great. If there was no Chen Fei to join, it would not fall into his sight at all. It's just that there are a lot of TV series now, but the quality or the works that can sell well are very limited. Beijing TV variety channel not only faces the competition of its peers, but also has to compete with other channels on the same station for resources. In addition to the eldest set of satellite TV, the second set of variety channels, the fourth set of life channels, the fifth set of film and television channels, and the eighth set of youth channels all have fixed TV series programs. Internal performance rankings are implemented between different channels. The higher the performance, the higher the reward, and the more resources will naturally be tilted. Therefore, the outsourcing of channel programs is everywhere, in order to save costs and improve efficiency. But saving is far from as good as open source. A good program or a TV series with high ratings can produce great benefits and bring huge profits. Now is not decades ago. The internal reform of the TV station has long been completed, and the competition mechanism is very mature. Although the variety channel is ranked second in Beijing TV, it is closely chased by the fourth and fifth sets, and there is a strong sense of crisis. Director Zhu is naturally under a lot of pressure. Buying a bad TV series and buying a good TV series have two different results, which are likely to lead to the position under his buttocks being shaken or stabilized. Therefore, he didn't put on any airs with Lu Chen. He was not disappointed that he didn't dig anything out of Lu Chen's mouth. He just wanted to establish a good relationship, and if it was really worth it in the future, he could take the lead. Under such circumstances, coupled with Mu Rong's cooperation, the communication between the two sides was very harmonious. At 8:30 p.m. on November 15th, the new issue of Star Interview was broadcast on Beijing TV variety channel on time. This episode of the show attracted the attention of a large number of Lu Chen fans. Lu Chen has already issued an announcement on his blog, and the content of the show was broadcast on Whale TV that night. As a result, the song, When You're Old, became an instant hit. This new song by Lu Chen, which no one has ever heard before, and as a song written for his mother, it poked the tears of countless people. The video clip of playing and singing was forwarded by a large number of people on blogs. It was not uncommon to hear songs praising, and reminiscing about one's mother in China, but they were basically works with a preachy theme. Therefore, they were not very popular and were usually only sung at cultural performances of government departments or social groups. This makes When You're Old more and more precious. Its lyrics are not complicated. It can be said to be easy to understand. The melody is soothing and beautiful. The requirements for singing skills are not high, and it is easy to cover. The characteristic guitar playing and singing of folk songs are most suitable for dissemination, coupled with the emotions contained in the song, so it is regarded as one of Lu Chen's best works by many music critics and is strongly recommended on blogs. In the pop music circle, people once again saw the talent of Lu Chen. Lu Chen seems to have endless musical inspiration. He can always write beautiful works. He is obviously very handsome, but he never brushes his face to eat. He brushes his songs. Someone listed all of Lu Chen's works in the forum, including his own albums and songs written for others. None of them are mediocre, and any of them can be the lead or second lead of an album. The most outrageous thing is that so far, all of the works that have been officially released by Lu Chen have been on the original music chart, which is a record in itself. In the history of domestic pop music, there must be better singers or musicians than Lu Chen, but the average quality of their works has reached this level. Many people were amazed by this. The future pop music world will belong to Lu Chen's era. Such praise is definitely a bit too much for the current Lu Chen. Some people are amazed, some people are jealous, some people are disdainful, and some people take it to heart. However, the ups and downs on the internet have not affected Lu Chen for the time being, and he has no time to pay attention to it. On November 16th, Lu Chen and Li Feiyu left Beijing together and came to Jinling to attend the opening ceremony of Autumn in My Heart. More than 300 kilometers away from Jinling, Kaiyuan District, Ningyuan City. In the second bedroom of room 201 of Building 7, Meng Meng is sitting on the bed and looking at the textbook in her hand. Her bone marrow transplant operation was very successful, and there was no obvious rejection reaction. In addition, her original physical fitness was good, so she was discharged from the hospital shortly after the operation to recuperate and undergo post-operative drug consolidation treatment. According to the doctor, as long as there are no accidents, her leukemia is basically cured. It is also because of the rapid development of science and medical technology. In the past, it was really a terminal illness, and even if the bone marrow transplant was successful a few years ago, the recurrence rate was very high. Now with new drugs and new methods, as long as there is no lack of treatment funds, there is a very high cure rate if the match is successful. And for this family, this is the best result. It's just that Meng Meng is a little depressed. Because of this serious illness, her schoolwork has been lagged behind. She probably needs to repeat for a year before she can take the college entrance examination. Otherwise, there is no hope of being admitted to the ideal school. Although Meng Meng's grades are ordinary, she still wants to work hard to go to college. Even if it is a very ordinary university. The door of the room was suddenly pushed open, and two girls wearing masks came in. Meng Meng, we are here to see you. Meng Meng immediately beamed with joy. The person who came was her best friend. She is very bored staying at home, but she can't go out in a short time, and her mother doesn't allow her to play with any electronic devices, even her mobile phone is confiscated. Therefore, the happiest time for Meng Meng is when her classmates and friends come to visit. This time, her best friends didn't bring her flowers or fruits, but a thick stack of printed paper. Meng Meng asked curiously, "What is this?" Her best friend said with a smile, "You will know when you see it." Meng Meng opened it and immediately saw the printed text on the first page of the manuscript. Autumn in My Heart, /author, Lu Chen. She opened her eyes in disbelief. This is a novel written by brother Lu Chen? Her best friend said with a smile, "Yes, the TV series is about to start, and Lu Chen is the male lead, and Chen Fei is the female lead. When you get better, you can watch it." Meng Meng clenched the manuscript in her hand, eager to get better soon. She believes that the novel written by Lu Chen and the TV series will be very exciting. Chapter 235. When Lu Chen came to Jinling again, it was raining. The drizzle was like smoke and fog. This ancient and modern city was extraordinarily beautiful in the rain. It was gentle, elegant, and lingering, as if an elegant lady from the Tang and Song dynasties was quietly waiting for his arrival. It was hard to describe this feeling in words. Lu Chen stayed in the same five-star hotel near the Jinling Film and Television City. The crew of Autumn in My Heart had already assembled in the Film and Television City a few days ago. They could start shooting as soon as the actors arrived. As one of the three major film and television cities in China, Jinling Film and Television City service facilities were in place. Any crew that came here didn't need to worry about food, accommodation, and travel. The Film and Television City would help solve the worries. Therefore, in the past, it often took a year or more to shoot 30 to 40 episodes of TV series. Now, it was normal to shoot 2 episodes a week for weekend shows. If special effects were not needed in the post-production, then it could be shot this week and appear on the TV screen the next week. The efficiency was very high. Of course, this was the ideal situation, because there were often all kinds of unexpected situations in the shooting work. Even if the TV station cooperated, they still needed to arrange the broadcast time in advance. In the hotel's business suite, Lu Chen first met Chen Fei, who came a day earlier than him, as well as Sister Li and her baby son, Zhang Juanji. In the TV series, Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen played the male lead, and Zhang Juanji played the role of his youth. This handsome boy had just turned 15 years old this year. He was 170 meters tall and looked at least 70% similar to his father. If he grew taller and bigger, he would undoubtedly be an idol that could charm thousands of girls. Sister Li was obviously very proud of her son. Zhang Juanji was very outgoing and didn't have the slightest shyness. When he saw Lu Chen, he immediately shouted in surprise. He put down the tablet he was playing with and ran over. He smiled and bowed to Lu Chen. "Hello, brother Lu Chen." Sister Li said, "How can you call him brother? You should call him uncle." Lu Chen smiled bitterly and said, "Sister Li, I'm not that old. Just call him brother." He nodded and smiled at Zhang Juanji. "Hello, Zhang Juanji." Zhang Juanji proudly made a victory gesture to his mother, and then said eagerly, "Brother Lu Chen, I want to learn martial arts from you, and I also want to learn guitar from you. You play the guitar so well, and I want to know how you got Sister Fei." Before he could finish, one of his ears was twisted by Chen Fei. The heavenly queen sneered, "Little Ji, you're being naughty again. It looks like I haven't taught you enough." Zhang Juanji grimaced and said with a bitter face, "Sister Fei, I know I was wrong. Chen Fei had a good relationship with Sister Li and treated Zhang Juanji like a younger brother. However, this younger brother of hers was very mischievous, and Sister Li spoiled him a lot. Therefore, sometimes when she couldn't stand it, she would have to discipline him. Everything has its vanquisher. Zhang Juanji was not afraid of anything, but he was afraid of Chen Fei. Lu Chen nodded. "If you want to learn guitar from me, there's no problem. First, you have to act well." Chen Fei let go of his hand. Zhang Juanji rubbed his red ear, patted his chest and said, "Brother Chen, don't worry. I've shot commercials and acted in plays. I promise I won't let you down." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Then it's a deal." Sister Li said seriously, "Lu Chen, don't spoil him like I do. If he needs to be beaten, scolded. If he does something wrong, just criticize him. You don't have to consider my relationship with him." Although Sister Li doted on Zhang Juanji, it was not the kind of unrestrained doting. Zhang Juanji liked singing and acting, and was destined to enter the entertainment industry. Therefore, in this aspect, she was very serious in disciplining him. If a star wanted to stay in the industry for a long time, networking was very important. Although she could help her son, Zhang Juanji had to walk his own path in the future. No one liked a spoiled child, and the earth would not revolve around anyone. Therefore, this time, Sister Li used her relationship with Chen Fei to put Zhang Juanji into the crew of Autumn in My Heart. It was to pave the way for him and also to sharpen and train him. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Okay, but the key still depends on the director." Chen Fei said, "Let's go see Director Fong together." The director of Autumn in My Heart finally fell on Fong Hui, who was recommended by Lu Chen. The partner, Chenda Brothers Pictures, originally coveted this position. They had signed several directors, but in the end, they respected Lu Chen's opinion. In return, most of the other important supporting roles and small roles were signed artists under Chienda Brothers Pictures or candidates recommended by related stakeholders. There were at least dozens of roles in a TV series, and it was unknown how many people wanted to ask for a cameo with only a few lines, but they couldn't get it. The interests involved were great. Especially those TV series produced by big directors, they were simply the meat of Tang Sen. Originally, if it was just Lu Chen's own selfie, perhaps not many people would be interested. But since the news that Chen Feier would play the leading role was announced, and it became a hot topic on blogs, there were really too many entertainment agencies and actors calling Lu Chen studio. However, they were destined to be disappointed. This time, the fertile water would basically not flow into the fields of outsiders. The group left the hotel and went to the Kun Arts Village, which belonged to the Film City. The Kun Arts Village of Jinling Film City was actually an apartment-style hotel for the crew to stay. Although the conditions were certainly not as good as those of a five-star hotel, the advantages were that all kinds of facilities were very complete, and the price was low. It was not the first time that Chienda Brothers Pictures had come to Jinling Film City to shoot, so they were very familiar with everything. They had already completed the preparation work. They booked 2 floors as the base camp of the crew, and they could start work at any time. In the conference room of the base camp, Lu Chen met director Fang Hui, as well as the actors who played the girl Yin and Shi, Han Taishi, Choi Shinai, Shin Yumei, and other important supporting roles. Fang Hui was also very happy to see Lu Chen. When she received a call from Lu Chen for the first time, inviting her to direct Autumn in My Heart, she couldn't believe it. Fang Hui and Lu Chen were not very familiar with each other, and they did not have a deep friendship. They had only worked together on a music video. Although after the shooting of the music video, they had said that they would work together again if there was a chance. But everyone knew that it was just a polite remark. Therefore, she was really very surprised, especially when she heard that the female lead of this TV series was Chen Fei. She felt as if she had been hit by a pie falling from the sky. As a director, Fang Hui was a little famous in the film and television industry, but it was completely incomparable to the real big stars. Her status was equivalent to that of a second or third-tier star. Some people would hire her, but they would not spend a lot of money and effort to hire her. And with Chen Feier's status, it was easy to find a director of the same level. So when she learned that Lu Chen was not joking, she did not hesitate to agree. She did not even mention how much the director's salary was. Such an opportunity was too rare. Especially after reading the script of Autumn in My Heart, this feeling of luck was even stronger. Fang Hui liked this story very much. In addition to Fang Hui and the actors, there were also production directors, brokerage managers, assistant directors, cameramen and so on from Chienda Pictures, including Lu Yi, who had dealt with Lu Chen before. For this TV series, Chienda Pictures could be said to have sent out all the elites, and even suspended a TV series that was originally being prepared to shoot Autumn in My Heart with all their might. Lu Yi introduced the other actors to Lu Chen with great enthusiasm. The actress who played the young girl, Yin and Shi, was called Yi Mingmei. She was only 14 years old this year. She was slender and beautiful. She was still a student in the 3rd year of junior high school. Her father had a good relationship with the boss of Chienda Pictures, so she was recommended to the crew. Compared with Zhang Juanji's lively and active personality, Yi Mingmei was undoubtedly a well-behaved girl. She spoke softly and softly. When she greeted Lu Chen and Chen Fei, she blushed and looked quite cute. Chen Fei liked her very much. He took her little hand and chatted with her a little more. Han Taishi, the first male supporting role, was a new artist of Chienda Pictures, Hu Yang, who had just made his debut. He was 2 years younger than Lu Chen. He dressed up with the temperament of a rich second generation, which was quite in line with the characters in the TV series. He belonged to the popular young idol. However, in front of Lu Chen and Chen Fei, Hu Yang did not have the slightest arrogance and was very polite and respectful, because he knew very well who was really in charge of this crew. As for the actors who played Choi Shinai and Shin Yumei, they were also carefully selected by Chienda Pictures. They did not have much fame in the circle, but they all had rich acting experience. In addition, there were several less important actors. Some were recommended by Sister Li, and some were relatives of Chenda Pictures. With the arrival of Lu Chen, the crew was really complete, and everyone had a small meeting first. The content of the meeting was mainly about tomorrow's opening ceremony and shooting work. In addition, they also talked about the premiere. Relying on the popularity stirred up on the internet, there were currently 4 or 5 medium-sized TV stations looking for Lu Chen and Chen Fei, studio, as well as Chenda Pictures, in addition to big TV stations such as Beijing TV Station, Haijin TV Station, and Zhidong TV Station. The opinion of Chenda Pictures was to choose 2 strong and sincere first-run TV stations from them. It didn't matter if the price was low, but they must ensure that it was broadcast in prime time, and the key to profit was on the replay. The crew meeting ended after more than an hour. Lu Chen, Chen Fei, and Sister Li returned to the hotel, but he and Chen Fei quietly went out again. Chapter 236. The sun was setting, and the sun was shining after the rain. It was the evening rush hour, and the roads of Jinling City were full of traffic. People were rushing home from work. No one noticed a bicycle speeding past on the side of the road. The bicycle was rented at the tourist service station. The deposit was 500 yuan, and the rent was 2 yuan per hour. The bicycle was fashionable and of good quality. It allowed people to carry people in the back seat, but it could only be driven on the dedicated lane. Because of the low rent and no risk of theft, this kind of public bicycle was very popular with tourists. Lu Chen pedaled the bicycle, carrying Chen Fei, facing the wind, no different from ordinary tourists. Chen Fei sat in the back, and the cool wind blew her skirt. She hugged Lu Chen's waist, and her head leaned against Lu Chen's back. The Queen of Sweet Song was wearing a scarf, and a pair of blue ink crystal glasses could not cover her stunning face, but it was enough to make passers-by not find out her true identity, so that she could enjoy the time alone with Lu Chen at ease. Such time was really rare, and as precious as gold. On the 10th anniversary of her debut, a reporter asked Chen Fei, "How long are you going to sing?" Chen Fei's answer was, "A lifetime." Unlike her brother Tan Hong, who gradually retired, she liked to sing and stand in the spotlight, because this was her dream since childhood, and she would never give it up easily. However, the more you gain, the more you lose. The glamour of a star is at the expense of private life. Even if she learned the skills of disguise, Chen Fei rarely had time to live an ordinary life. Fortunately, she met Lu Chen. Her life changed. She hugged Lu Chen tighter, and suddenly had a feeling of fear of losing him. Lu Chen did not understand and asked, "Are you hungry? Let's go eat something. What do you want to eat?" This time, his date with Chen Fei was the first time that no outsiders followed. Chen Fei's assistant and bodyguards did not follow. On the one hand, it was because of her insistence, and on the other hand, Lu Chen had enough ability to protect her, so there would be no problem. Moreover, Jinling was a very safe city. Even so, the two of them still had the thrill of secretly eloping. Chen Fei thought for a moment and said, "I want to eat spicy hot pot. Do you know where I can get it?" Malatang? Of course, Lu Chen didn't know where to eat it, but thanks to the great technology, he only needed to open his phone and search for the keywords, and soon found the nearest place to eat malatang. Following the guidance of the satellite navigation system, Lu Chen drove Chen Fei to the destination in half an hour. It was a very old street, and both sides of the street were lined with delicacies and snacks. There were all kinds of them, and it was too much for the eyes to take in. The street was bustling with people. Chen Fei held onto Lu Chen's arm. The two of them walked through the crowd like an ordinary couple, searching for their own delicacies amidst the various fragrances. They found the restaurant with a high reputation and waited for more than 10 minutes before there was an empty table. Chen Fei chose more than a dozen skewers of her favorite foods: tenderloin, fried dough sticks, enoki mushrooms, coriander. 2 bowls of cooked spicy hot pot were quickly served. The spicy hot pot of this restaurant had a strong aroma, and the ingredients were fresh and clear. It really lived up to its reputation. Chen Fei ate with relish. She actually ate more than Lu Chen. After eating, it was already dark. Lu Chen took her back to the river for a walk. Because Chen Fei ate too much, she needed to digest the food. When they were tired, The two of them sat on a bench by the river and enjoyed the clear water in front of them. This place was far away from the bustling commercial street. Although there were pedestrians and tourists, it was undoubtedly a lot quieter. Most of them were couples. The air here seemed to be rippling with a romantic atmosphere. Chen Fei touched her belly and let out a low moan. She looked tired and satisfied. She looked like a little woman. Lu Chen laughed at her. "Why do you eat so much? Aren't you afraid of getting a stomachache?" Chen Fei tilted her head and leaned on his shoulder. She murmured, "When I was a child, I was very greedy. I liked the skewers cooked in the pot at the school gate. One time, I was greedy and spent the money to buy textbooks." She paused. Lu Chen couldn't help but ask, "Then what happened?" Chen Fei said, "Then I was beaten by my mother. She slapped my butt with a bamboo ruler. It was so painful. At that time, I thought that when I grew up and made money, I would eat skewers every day, every meal. Later, when I really became rich, I knew that it was unhealthy to eat too much of this kind of thing. Just like spicy hot pot, I haven't eaten it for a long time." She narrowed her eyes and recalled the past. A sweet smile appeared on her lips, even when she talked about the pain. Lu Chen smiled. "If I have a chance in the future, I will take you out to eat it." Chen Fei turned her head and said with a smile, "Thank you." She smiled happily. Her smile was breathtakingly beautiful in the light of the roadside lights. It firmly attracted Lu Chen's eyes. Lu Chen stared at the beauty close to him. Suddenly, he couldn't help the impulse in his heart. He reached out and took off the sunglasses she was wearing. Then, he lowered his head and kissed her red lips heavily. Chen Fei's lips were soft and fragrant, with an indescribable sweetness. The heavenly queen of the music industry suddenly opened her eyes wide and instinctively shrank back, but she could not escape. She moaned weakly, closed her eyes, and let Lu Chen take advantage of her. This was the first kiss between the two. After a long time, Lu Chen reluctantly separated because Chen Fei was almost out of breath. She leaned her whole body in Lu Chen's arms, closed her eyes, and breathed like orchids. He didn't know how touching it was. Chen Fei opened her eyes again, and there was a touch of shyness on her delicate face. She suddenly stretched out her arms and hugged Lu Chen's neck. She took the initiative to give a kiss, as if she wanted to rub herself into Lu Chen's body. It was so hot that Lu Chen was about to melt. This kiss lasted even longer. The anxiety in Lu Chen's heart disappeared, and he was immersed in the gentle enjoyment. It wasn't until the sound of a car horn not far away that the two woke up. Chen Fei was embarrassed and let go of Lu Chen. She straightened up and said, "Let's go." The so-called bottom line was broken step by step like this. She was powerless to stop it. But she couldn't go on, or something would really happen. Lu Chen was a little regretful, but he still said, "Okay, let's go back to the hotel." He naturally took Chen Fei's hand, and his heart was extremely satisfied. Chen Fei let him hold her hand and said softly, "This is my first kiss, but it's not yours, right?" Lu Chen smiled bitterly. He really had nothing to say about this. The next day, the crew of Autumn in My Heart held a boot ceremony in Jinling Film City. The boot ceremony was not very grand, but because Chen Fei was the female lead, many media reporters came, and it almost turned into a press conference. The focus of the reporters was, of course, Chen Fei. Today, Chen Fei was in a very good state of mind. She was in high spirits and her eyes were smiling. She was bright and beautiful, and it was unknown how many shutters she had taken, which attracted the attention of the audience. In the face of the reporters' questions, she answered gracefully. A reporter from Entertainment Weekly asked, "Chen Fei, is it because of your relationship with Lu Chen that you are the female lead of this TV series? Are you in a relationship?" This question was probably what all the reporters wanted to ask. It was well known that the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Fei was very good. There were even rumors about the two before. Although the two denied that they were in a relationship with a younger brother, the cooperation between the two inevitably made people's imagination run wild. Chen Fei smiled and pulled Lu Chen, who was standing next to her. She hugged him intimately and said, "I am very good friends with Lu Chen. As for being in a relationship, She turned her head and asked Lu Chen, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry, "Are you courting me?" Lu Chen thought for a moment, then replied very seriously, "Then I'll try." Chen Feier laughed. As the two of them sang along, they cleverly avoided the topic. The more they tried to hide it, the more people would guess and fabricate it. On the contrary, they calmly faced each other, which made it difficult for others to figure out the real details. This was the so-called fake is real, and the real is fake. After laughing, Chen Feier said, "In fact, after I read the script of this TV series, I took the initiative to ask Lu Chen to play the female lead, because I like the role of Yin Eunhui very much, and I feel that it is very challenging." Chen Feier was not afraid to expose herself. "I play Yin Eunhui in the TV series, and she is the younger sister of Yin Juanxi, who is played by Lu Chen. She was several years older than Lu Chen." However, Chen Feier had never been shy about talking about her age, so she took the initiative to reveal it before the reporter asked. Another reporter asked, "Mr. Lu Chen, how do you feel about acting with Chen Feier?" Lu Chen replied, "I don't feel anything because I haven't acted in it yet." The reporter asked, "Do you feel pressured?" Lu Chen replied, "I didn't feel pressured at first, but after you asked, I suddenly felt pressured." Everyone laughed at once. Lu Chen's answer was very sophisticated, and he did not leave any loopholes for these reporters. A reporter asked Chen Feier again, "When will your new album be released?" Chen Feier replied, "Next month. In addition, I will also sing the theme song of this TV series, which may be included in the new album. In short, it will definitely give everyone a surprise." The opening ceremony was only the first half an hour of the ceremony, and the rest was almost a personal interview with Chen Feier. Even Lu Chen only got a few questions. But no one felt that there was anything wrong with this. To put it bluntly, the reason why Autumn in My Heart could get so much attention was that Chen Feier contributed at least 90%. After the opening ceremony, Autumn in My Heart officially entered the shooting stage. However, Lu Chen and Chen Feier did not participate in the shooting, because they did not have scenes in the first 2 episodes, so they did not need to stay here. The most important thing was that the two needed to return to Beijing to participate in a very important event. That was the shooting of the Dedication of Love public service advertisement of the Yanhuang Charity Association. Chapter 237. The song Dedication of Love was put out by Lu Chen to thank those people inside and outside the circle who supported the charity crowdfunding project and was put on the Immerse blog. He never thought of seeking benefits or fame by relying on this song. There was no need for that at all. However, Lu Chen did not expect that the great god of Yanhuang Charity Association actually took a fancy to Dedication of Love, came to buy the license, and invited him to participate in the MV of the public service advertisement. Lu Chen directly gave a free permanent license. Later, Chen Feier told him that he did the right thing. Whether in China or abroad, there are many benefits for star artists to do charity or to establish a good cooperative relationship with authoritative charities. In China, the reputation of charity is like adding a layer of amulet to oneself, and people always look up to them. For example, Chen Feier herself has long-term cooperation and exchanges with Yanhuang Charity Association. Like Lu Chen, she will also participate in the public service advertisement of Dedication of Love. On the way back from Jinling to Jinling, Lu Chen and Chen Feier sat in the same car. Because the work later involved the arrangement of Yanhuang Charity Association, she revealed a lot of inside information. Last year and this year, there was a lot of trouble in the domestic charity world, which had a big impact on the image of the public. Although these were not all Yanhuang Charity Association's fault, as the top existence in the domestic charity structure, the association was also passive. The pressure from the top made them urgently need to carry out publicity and re-erect a good image. It was at this time that Lu Chen carried out charity crowdfunding through the crowdfunding website, which caused a great impact on the internet. His creation of Dedication of Love is very much in line with the taste of Yanhuang Charity Association. Otherwise, how could such a good thing fall on Lu Chen's head? Looking at the list of stars selected to participate in the public service advertisement, Li Xing, Tan Hong, Chen Feier, Lu Zhonghan, Shi Rong, and so on are all big figures. Including Lu Chen himself, the final list was 15 stars, all of whom were more famous than him. Moreover, the director of this public service announcement was the famous director Yu Jianda. This 60-year-old director had filmed more than 20 movies and had won awards at international film festivals. He enjoyed a high reputation. Zhang Wenin, who Lu Chen knows, is also a big director, but compared with Yu Jianda, he is at least a little worse. Chen Fei said, "If you are chosen by director Yu to make a movie, you will really reach the sky in one step." Lu Chen laughed involuntarily. He knew that Chen Fei was joking, and he was also reminding him to take this job seriously, even if he didn't earn a single cent. Lu Chen held Chen Fei's hand and said, "It's better for me to be the director and make a movie myself, and you'll be the heroine for me. Let's reach the sky together, okay?" Chen Fei felt sweet and said, "You still want to be a director? All right then, as long as you can act in a movie, I'll be the female lead for you. You can't go back on your word." Lu Chen laughed. Chen Fei didn't take it seriously, but he was serious. However, it would take a long time for this idea to be realized. At present, his accumulation was too little. He had to take it one step at a time. Now Lu Chen was walking very fast. It was too easy to fall if he sped up and ran. The Mercedes-Benz carrying the two of them sped along the Jinjing Expressway and returned to the capital before dark. Chen Fei first sent Lu Chen back to the apartment. Although the two of them kissed in Jinling, because of career reasons, this relationship was not going to be public for the time being. Again, Lu Chen rose too fast, and his foundation and accumulation were not enough. Once the relationship between the two of them was made public, he would be under great pressure, which would seriously hinder the development of his career. The simplest was the media reporters. Those paparazzi would inevitably stare at him every day and disturb his peace. There had been precedents for this kind of situation, which was not what Lu Chen wanted to see. So at present, the two could only be dating in secret, and it would not be too late to make it public when the time was right in the future. Another very important aspect was that the separation of men and women in the entertainment industry was too common. There were really few who could stick to it for a long time. Even if they broke up in secret, it would not make a big deal. This was also the norm in the circle. On November 18th, the second day after Lu Chen returned to the capital, he arrived at the scheduled place. Participating in the shooting of the MV of the public service advertisement, Dedication of Love. The gathering point of star actors and singers was at the headquarters of Flying Stone Records. Lu Chen was also familiar with the place. In the VIP lounge, he met many famous people, such as Li Xing, Tan Hong, Chen Fei, and Lu Zhonghan. He also met Liao Jia, Shi Rong, and other big names in the pop music and show business for the first time. Yu Jianda was also present. The director, who was renowned both at home and abroad, was tall and sturdy. He had a square face, and his white hair was braided. He was wearing a gray shirt with an open collar, navy blue trousers, and black cloth shoes. He had a sage-like demeanor. It was said that this director Yu was a devout Taoist. When he was a teenager, he learned martial arts in Wudong Mountain. In the 1990s, he also made a movie called Wudong Mountain, which caused a considerable sensation in China. The time for the meeting was 9:30 in the morning, but just after 9 o'clock, all the stars were already in place. No star dared to act like a big shot in such a thing. Even if they were shooting movies or TV shows in other places, they would specially ask for leave to rush back to the capital, not to mention being late. That would cause public anger. It was still early, so everyone sat and chatted. The entertainment industry could be said to be very big, but in fact, it was also very small. Two characters who were originally not related to each other could have a close connection through a third party, and there were countless people who knew each other and had friendship with each other. Some of them were friends, and they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Now that they met here, it was another surprise. Brother Tan Hong. Lu Chen first looked for Tan Hong. The singing superstar is now basically in a state of retirement. It is said that he will hold a farewell concert at the end of the year, announcing his official withdrawal from the pop music world. So since the end of this Singing China competition, Lu Chen hasn't seen Tan Hong again. But he has always remembered Tan Hong's help and support for him. Tan Hong smiled and patted Lu Chen on the arm and said, "Xiao Lu, long time no see. I've often seen your name on the blog recently. You've done a good job." He looked meaningfully at Chen Fei, who was standing beside him, and said with a smile, "I heard that Fei has been abducted to be the heroine now? That's amazing." Lu Chen smiled bitterly. Chen Fei's pretty face reddened, and she said angrily, "Brother Tan Hong?" Tan Hong laughed and said, "No kidding, Xiao Lu, let me introduce you to some teachers." Among this group of people, Lu Chen is definitely a junior, and his status in the circle is far worse than theirs. If it were any other newcomer encountering such a rare opportunity, they would probably have the cheek to strike up a conversation and even flatter for attention, hoping to be able to say a few words with these big shots. To stay in the entertainment industry for a long time, networking is really important. Oftentimes, the big brother above leaks something out, and it's enough for the people below to eat their fill. Lu Chen was different from ordinary newcomers. Although his appearance was modest, he had a proud and unyielding character. He would never take the initiative to ingratiate himself with others. But with Tan Hong's introduction, the situation is completely different. "This is Liao Jia, Teacher Liao." Tan Hong first introduced Lu Chen to Liao Jia, a big brother in the pop music world. Liao Jia is very legendary in the circle. He was born in the early 1970s, debuted in the late 1980s, and became popular in the 1990s because of rock and roll. He is one of the representatives of light rock and roll. Liao Jia has a very good relationship with the Black Ravens, a national rock band active in the late 1980s and early 1990s. They have released 3 albums with a total sales of more than 20 million, and are regarded as the mainstay of national rock and roll. Gao Yi, the lead singer and soul of the Black Ravens, is Liao Jia's mentor. Later, Gao Yi accidentally fell off the stage during the concert rehearsal, resulting in a serious skull injury, and eventually died in Chaoyang People's Hospital at the age of 32. Gao Yi's unexpected death is undoubtedly a heavy blow to national rock. The Black Ravens, which has always been a leading role, has since been unable to recover and disbanded 2 years later, leaving national rock fans with endless sorrow. Liao Jia resolutely took over Gao Yi's rock and roll banner, formed the Black Memory Band, released 2 albums, and also opened a national concert tour, and was regarded as the successor of national rock. However, because of the impact of the general environment, national rock quickly declined, and Liao Jia and the Black Memory Band were unable to turn the tide. At the beginning of 2000, the Black Memory Band almost disbanded. In order to survive and continue, Liao Jia changed to light rock and even love songs, and also wrote works for other singers. At that time, he was regarded as a traitor by many national rock fans, but he achieved greater success and established his position in the music industry. This big brother of the music industry is in his 40s this year. He is not very tall, and his appearance is very ordinary. He has small eyes and thin cheekbones, and his face is a little fierce. His face is bumpy, and he looks like a big brother in a black suit. "Hello, Teacher Liao." Lu Chen held out his hands to him. "I've listened to your songs since I was a child." When Tan Hong introduced him to Lu Chen, Liao Jia stared at Lu Chen with bright eyes until Lu Chen held out his hand. A smile appeared on his face. "Hello." Liao Jia's hand is a little cold, the skin is very rough, and the knuckles of his fingers are very strong. Lu Chen felt his strength when he shook hands with him. Tan Hong said with a smile, "Xiao Lu is very talented. Old Liao, please take care of him in the future and guide the newcomer." Liao Jia let go of his hand and said with a faint smile, "Since you said so, of course I have to give you face." Lu Chen politely said, "Thank you, Teacher Liao." He keenly felt that this big brother of the music industry in front of him seems to have a little hostility towards him. Chapter 238. Of course, Lu Chen knows Liao Jia. He listened to Liao Jia's songs when he was in junior high school. To this day, the album Antarctica by the band Black Memory is still stored in his hometown. The latter's Ivy House and Old Guy are well-known rock classics. But meeting him in person, that is, today. So, Lu Chen was very puzzled in his heart. Why would Liao Jia be hostile to him? The other party has been on the road for more than 20 years. while he has only been on the road for a few months. The two sides have never had any intersection. Of course, on the surface, Lu Chen remained calm and polite. "Please give me more advice." Liao Jia's mouth twitched. "You're welcome." It stands to reason that Tan Hong should be able to see something wrong, but he turned a blind eye and pulled Lu Chen to see Yu Jianda again. "Director Yu, this is Lu Chen." Tan Hong introduced him to Lu Chen, the creator of Dedication of Love. Lu Chen hurriedly bowed and saluted. "Hello, Teacher Yu." "Hello, hello." Yu Jianda said with a smile, "You're really young and promising. This song is well written and full of energy." For this great director, this was already a rare compliment. Lu Chen was modest. "Thank you, Teacher Yu, for your praise." Yu Jianda said with a smile, "I heard Brother Tian talk about you, saying that you are very talented in writing." Lu Chen knew that the brother Wen Tian, mentioned by the other party, must be referring to Zhang Wenyan. The two are directors of the same generation, and it's normal to have a deep friendship with each other. It's just that he didn't expect that Zhang Wenyan actually mentioned his name to Yu Jianda. This made Lu Chen feel a little flattered. In the entertainment industry, when it comes to status, the director is always at the forefront. The prestige and honor enjoyed by a great director like Yu Jianda is not comparable to that enjoyed by star artists. And only he can easily suppress more than a dozen top figures present. Yu Jianda's attitude towards Lu Chen is very good. I don't know if he really cherishes his talent. He also asked his assistant to give him a business card, saying that he can cooperate with him if he has the opportunity. This made the other star actors present look at Lu Chen. With the introduction of Tan Hong, Lu Chen has unknowingly gained a foothold in this small circle. Don't look at this small circle being formed temporarily. Everyone will go their separate ways after the shooting of the music video. Being able to be in it is a success. It's not easy to get the recognition of the members in the circle. It's really thanks to Tan Hong. Said, Tan Hong has always taken good care of and has taken. Like Chen Fei, or could still write songs, but Tan Hong was about to quit the singing world. The meeting was held at 9:30 sharp. The host was Yu Jianda. The great director briefly explained the content of the public service advertisement to everyone, as well as the work arrangements. He only spoke for 10 minutes, and then asked everyone to go to the recording studio. 15 star artists sang Dedication of Love together. Not only was the recording completed in the recording studio of Flying Stone Records, but even part of the music video content was also the same, filming the process of them recording and singing. Dedication of Love is a song with very low difficulty to sing. As a public service advertisement, it doesn't require much good singing skills, so it's basically passed after singing it a few times. Most of the work is actually post-production correction and synthesis. Tan Hong, Liao Jia, and Chen Fei are one after another, and some are two or more together. In the end, all 15 people sang together, and the recording and video were completed simultaneously. At noon, everyone ate a boxed lunch at Flying Stone Records. Although these stars present are all very rich, no one is dissatisfied with a boxed lunch of dozens of yuan. After lunch, the team moved to the orphanage under the Yanhuang Charity Association to continue shooting. Stars, especially big stars, are always full of work. It's really not easy for so many people to squeeze out time to participate in the shooting of this music video at the same time, and it's completely free. Including Yu Jianda, to be honest, his biggest role is to calm the scene, not to direct. The Charity Association can understand this. The quality of this public service advertisement is not high. It's enough to embody the core idea of the theme. The participation of 15 stars is the biggest highlight. In addition, they were well prepared in advance, so the shooting in the orphanage went very smoothly. Director Yu personally directed the shooting, and it was all shot before the sun went down. It was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. The rest is the post-production work. Such efficiency is simply outrageous, but it's normal for this kind of star public service advertisement. After the shooting, everyone took the bus back to Flying Stone Records, and then went back to their homes. When they came out, Lu Chen was thinking about whether to ask Chen Fei or to have dinner together, but he was stopped by a young man in a suit and leather shoes. The other party had a crew-cut hair and sunglasses, and looked very capable. he said politely to Lu Chen. Mr. Lu Chen, Brother Liao asked me to come over and ask if you are free in the evening. He wants to have dinner with you and have a chat with you. Do you think that's okay? Brother Liao? Liao Jia? Lu Chen raised his eyebrows, put the cell phone he had just taken out back into his pocket and said, no problem. Under the young man's guidance, Lu Chen boarded Liao Jia's car. Liao Jia's car is a Jeep G790 off-road vehicle, which has a rough and solid appearance and strong power and a price of more than 1 million. In the circle, Liao Jia is famous for his love of making friends and traveling. It is said that he once formed a motorcade with his friends across the no-man's land in Xizang. He is a typical stubborn person. Seeing Lu Chen, the rock and roll big brother asked, "Can you eat spicy food?" Lu Chen was stunned but nodded, "Yes." "That's good." Liao Jia reached out and patted the young man with a crew cut who had just sat in the driver's seat. "Shao Li, go to 4th Street." He turned his head and said to Lu Chen, 4th Street Sichuan cuisine is the most authentic. There is a restaurant that makes spicy crayfish very well. I haven't forgotten it since I ate it last time. This time it's a good time to eat. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Teacher Liao, your introduction is definitely correct." "Don't call me teacher." Liao Jia waved his hand and said, "It sounds too awkward. Just call me Brother Liao." Lu Chen said, "Okay, Brother Liao." Liao Jia smiled. "You must be wondering why I invited you over for dinner, right?" Lu Chen asked tentatively, "Brother Liao, do you have something to say to me?" He was really a little strange. When they first met, Liao Jia was a little hostile to him, but now it was gone. It seemed that Liao Jia just wanted to invite him to dinner and chat with him to get to know each other. But Lu Chen knew that things were not that simple. Liao Jia was definitely not out of his mind. Liao Jia said, "Let's go to 4th Street to eat and talk." Ring ring. As soon as Liao Jia's voice fell, Lu Chen's cell phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He said sorry, then took out his cell phone and answered it. "Lu Chen, where are you?" It was Chen Fei, who called Lu Chen. Just now, under the watchful eyes of Flying Stone Records, it was not good for the two to secretly communicate, but now their hearts were connected. Lu Chen said, "I'm in the car. Liao Jia, Brother Liao invited me to dinner." "Brother Liao?" Chen Fei's voice was a little strange and immediately said, "Then you eat. Remember not to drink too much." Lu Chen didn't think much and replied, "Okay." After ending the call, Liao Jia suddenly asked, "Is the caller Chen Fei?" Lu Chen, he didn't expect Liao Jia's guess to be so accurate, or did he hear the voice? Liao Jia said with a smile, "You don't have to hide it. Brother Tan told me that you and Fei are dating." Lu Chen was speechless. It was impossible to hide the secret relationship between him and Chen Fei from everyone. The relationship between Tan Hong and Chen Fei was like that of brother and sister. It was normal to know something. It was just that Tan Hong actually told Liao Jia about this, which was a bit unusual. Tan Hong was definitely not the kind of person who liked to gossip. He vaguely understood. Liao Jia reached out and patted Lu Chen on the shoulder and said, "Lu Chen, you are the luckiest person in the world. Do you know? In fact, I've liked Fei for a long time and have pursued her for at least 10 years, but she has never taken me seriously. She only treats me as an ordinary friend." Sure enough, Lu Chen knew that there were many people pursuing Chen Fei. She had been involved in a lot of scandals. Although they were not true, it was enough to show that she had many pursuers. He didn't expect Liao Jia to be one of them. Lu Chen said with a wry smile, "Can I say that I'm honored?" Liao Jia laughed and said, "It's true that I'm very jealous. Apart from you, she has never had any other boyfriends. I asked Shao Li to invite you here because I wanted to see what kind of man could move Fei." There was a little disappointment in his laughter. "Now it seems that you are definitely much more handsome than me." Lu Chen said lightly, "Is not that shallow." Liao Jia's words made Lu Chen unhappy. What did he mean by much more handsome? Although it was true, he said it as if he was a gigolo, and Chen Fei took a fancy to this. Liao Jia said with a smile, "That's right, your talent is better than mine. At least I can't write a song like In the Spring." Liao Jia had written many songs, but his real classic works were basically written by others. Lu Chen shook his head and did not explain. When two people get along, appearance and talent were all external conditions. The most important thing was the feeling between them. Without that feeling, no matter how handsome and talented Lu Chen was, he would not be able to move Chen Fei. However, he didn't need to say this to Liao Jia. Those who understood would naturally understand, and those who didn't might never understand. Apart from his identity as a singer, Liao Jia was actually an ordinary person. His emotions were no different from others. But he was right about one thing. Lu Chen was the luckiest person in the world. Chapter 239. Simi Street was one of the few street stalls in Beijing. Due to the noise and pollution problems, Beijing had banned all night stalls more than a decade ago. However, the people and tourists had such needs, so they reopened the night stalls in specific areas and regulated the management. It became the favorite place for foodies who knew the business. Many diners firmly believed that they could only taste authentic food in places like street stalls. The so-called big hotels and high-end restaurants only relied on face. Regardless of whether this view was correct or not, there was no doubt that the business on 4th Line Street was good, especially at sunset and dusk. The shops along the street were all lit up, and the rows of red lanterns looked especially festive and auspicious. The entrances of those street stalls and restaurants were filled with tables and chairs. There weren't many empty seats at mealtime. The air was filled with the fragrance of all kinds of delicious food. Steamed, boiled, stir-fried, fried. It made people feel that life was beautiful. Simi Street was a pedestrian street, so cars could only be parked in the parking lot outside. When they got out of the car, Liao Jia put on a pair of sunglasses and gave one to Lu Chen. Bring it along. People like us aren't ourselves anymore. Lu Chen pondered over the deeper meaning of his words and did not refuse his kindness. He put on his sunglasses. The stall that Liao Jia brought Lu Chen to eat at was called Old Zhu Sichuan Restaurant. Its main dish was authentic Sichuan cuisine, and it also sold spicy crayfish. Its business was even more prosperous than the stove in front of the door. But there was a small table outside reserved for them. Liao Jia naturally sat on the white plastic chair and said with a smile, Shaoli knows the boss, so he called in advance to reserve a table. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found an empty table now. Shaoli was the energetic young man with a crew cut. He was Liao Jia's assistant and driver, the kind of person who didn't speak much. Lu Chen sat opposite him and said with a smile, Then let's have a taste of the chef's cooking. Shaoli waved his hand and asked the waiter. He first asked for Liao Jia and Lu Chen's opinions before he began to order. Pickled fish with pickled cabbage and chili, mapo tofu, twice-cooked pork, duck blood curd, and 5 pounds of spicy crayfish. I want a big one. After Shaoli finished ordering, Liao Jia asked Lu Chen, Is there enough food? Why don't you order some that you like? Lu Chen said, That's enough. Thank you, brother Liao. Liao Jia said with a smile, You don't have to thank me yet. Since you're eating with me, you have to drink. How about some beer? Based on his usual temper, he would definitely make Lu Chen drink Red Star Erguotu the moment he caught him. However, although he was unhappy with Lu Chen, he still admired Lu Chen's talent in composing and gave him face. When Liao Jia first heard the song, In the Spring by the Bionics, he was really shocked. Later, when he heard that it was written by a young man in his early 20s, he couldn't believe it. In this aspect, he admitted defeat to Lu Chen and had been looking for an opportunity to meet Lu Chen. In the end, before he even met Lu Chen, he found out about the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Fei, from Tan Hong. At that time, Liao Jia really felt like he was in deep shit. In short, Liao Jia's thoughts were very complicated. It wasn't that he wanted to be jealous of Lu Chen or anything. He was not that narrow-minded, but he was really unhappy that he couldn't vent his anger. So, today, he took the opportunity to stop Lu Chen. The most important thing was that Liao Jia wanted to see what kind of man Chen Fei, chose was. Moreover, Tan Hong deliberately introduced Lu Chen to him, obviously hoping that the two could become friends. If one wanted to be Liao Jia's friend, one could not drink. Lu Chen pondered for a moment and said, Okay. Snap. Liao Jia snapped his fingers and said, Buddy, bring us 2 more boxes of Budweiser. The 2 boxes of Budweiser were delivered first. Xiao Li skillfully tore open the seal and took out 2 bottles of beer, one for Liao Jia and one for Lu Chen. Liao Jia held the bottle, unscrewed the cap, and said to Lu Chen, "Come, let's have a drink first." Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He also opened the bottle and clinked it with the other person's bottle. Cheers! He now had a better understanding of Liao Jia's temperament. The evaluation of Liao Jia in the circle was mixed. Unlike Tan Hong, who everyone respected, some people thought that Liao Jia was easy to get along with, straightforward, and didn't play dirty. Others thought that he was too arrogant and liked to scold people and lose his temper. Today, he really lived up to his reputation. Lu Chen knew that if this kind of person had a good temper, then they could become excellent friends. If they didn't, then no matter how you looked at them, you would hate them. Staying away from them was the wisest choice. If they couldn't afford to offend them, then they could avoid them. Liao Jia liked Chen Fei, and even pursued her, but in the end he didn't succeed even after 10 years. If he could still smile and call Lu Chen brother, then Lu Chen would definitely hide as far away as possible. Now that he came to talk to Lu Chen directly, it was obvious that he was able to take it easy and didn't have any bad intentions. However, he was definitely still unhappy. Drinking with Lu Chen was just a way to vent his anger. At this time, if Lu Chen still hesitated and refused, not only would he lose face, but he would also be looking down on Liao Jia. Therefore, he happily drank a bottle of wine. Of course, Lu Chen's alcohol tolerance couldn't be compared to a real drunkard. However, drinking beer with a very low alcohol content, it probably wouldn't be a problem for him to drink until he was full. Also, this kind of hardcover Budweiser was only 330 milliliters, so the pressure was even lower. After each of them drank a bottle, Liao Jia was a little satisfied. Not bad, like a man. I hate those little fresh meats the most. They have oily hair and pale faces. Just looking at them makes me want to puke. Another bottle. Lu Chen drank 3 bottles with him without changing his expression. Liao Jia put down the empty bottle, let out a long breath of alcohol and said, "Awesome." Lu Chen laughed, opened another bottle and said, "Here's to brother Liao." It was impolite not to reciprocate. If people respect me a foot, I will respect them tenfold. Although Lu Chen has 3 rich life memories, he is far more mature than his peers and calm in the face of trouble. However, this didn't mean that he didn't have a temper. If it was any other newcomer, they would definitely tremble in fear when facing a big brother like Liao Jia, not daring to go tit for tat. Lu Chen wasn't like that. He didn't ask for anything from Liao Jia, so he didn't have any fear in his heart. Since he wanted to drink, he couldn't let the other party control the rhythm. Liao Jia was a little surprised, but he didn't show any weakness. Without thinking, he opened a bottle and drank with Lu Chen. Another 3 bottles were drunk. The 2 only had a lunchbox at noon. In the afternoon, they were filming a music video at the orphanage, so their stomachs were already empty. After drinking 6 bottles of Budweiser, Liao Jia's face began to turn red, and he was a little tipsy. In contrast, Lu Chen's expression didn't change. He was still the same as before. He never showed his face when he drank, even when he was drunk. Liao Jia suddenly had a bad feeling because he couldn't judge Lu Chen's alcohol tolerance. People who drank were most afraid of meeting this kind of opponent. Getting Lu Chen drunk to vent his anger seemed to be a wrong choice. Fortunately, the hot dishes were served at this time. Liao Jia quickly said, "Let's eat first." The craftsmanship of Lao Zhu's Sichuan restaurant was really good. The dishes were authentic, especially the fish with pickled cabbage and chili. The meat was so tender that it melted in the mouth. The 4 distinct flavors were sour, spicy, numb, and fresh. Lu Chen was full of praise for it. The spicy crayfish was also very good. A large basin full of peeled meat was eaten, and he simply couldn't stop. Because he couldn't figure out Lu Chen's background, Liao Jia no longer tried to compete with Lu Chen in drinking. Instead, he slowly fought a war of attrition, bottle by bottle. Even so, he didn't ask his assistant, Xiao Li, to help him deal with Lu Chen. After drinking too much, Liao Jia's chatterbox also opened up, and he rambled on about a lot of things. It was all old events, mainly about rock and roll. He said that when he and the Black Ravens held a concert in the Capitol Workers' Stadium, tens of thousands of rock and roll fans roared in unison. Thinking about it still made his blood boil. Now he was making a lot more money than before, but he could no longer find that feeling. He didn't even dare to hold a concert, for fear of being scolded by the fans of national rock. He was the traitor of national rock. Lu Chen drank and listened more than he spoke. He could feel the hesitation and pain in Liao Jia's heart. For those former rock and roll singers, survival or death was really a big problem. Gradually, more and more empty bottles were placed on the table. Liao Jia's face was red from drinking, and his tongue was loose from talking. Lu Chen was also a little drunk. "Sir, would you like to order a song?" At this moment, a man and a woman came over. The man was still holding a guitar in his arms. The two looked in their early 20s, and they should be a young couple, dressed rather shabbily. There were countless Beijing drifting singers in the capital, and many of them performed on the streets. Those who had the ability to apply for a license to perform on land, and there were also such mobile singers, who were relatively of a lower level. Because this kind of wandering in the street was often not high level, and some of them were not even real singers at all. Liao Jia laughed. He took out a large bill from his pocket and handed it over. "There's no need to order a song. Lend me your guitar for a while, I'll sing it myself." This was Liao Jia's unruly side. If it were any other big shot, they would not do such a degrading thing. But it was also his true nature. The singing couple had probably never encountered such a thing before, and they looked at each other in dismay. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't damage your guitars." He had been at the bottom of society before, and he knew that the other party was worried that Liao Jia would damage their guitars when he was drunk. The other party's guitar was not too bad, at least 1 or 2,000 yuan. It was normal to cherish it. The young man hesitated for a moment, but he still let his girlfriend take the bill and took off the guitar himself. He was very worried about Liao Jia, who was dressed like a gangster boss, but Lu Chen was obviously trustworthy. Liao Jia took the guitar and skillfully tried the tuning. He muttered, "It's not even tuned properly, and you can still sing?" The young man suddenly blushed. Liao Jia ignored him, adjusted it, and then strummed the steel string. Chapter 240. 4th Street was very lively at night, and the doors of the food stalls and restaurants along the street were full of diners. Liao Jia's temperament was different from ordinary people. He didn't care whether he would expose his identity in public or not. When he was drunk, he borrowed the guitar and sang on the spot. His style could be described as bold and unrestrained. However, there were very few rock singers who didn't know how to play the guitar, and rock singers had the highest number of guitar masters. Liao Jia's guitar playing was definitely at the master level. Without even using a guitar pick, a series of passionate notes poured out from his fingers. The original owner of the guitar was stunned, and it also attracted the attention of many diners around them. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. Because Liao Jia was talking about "in the spring," but he added his own things in the prelude. This national idol definitely lived up to his reputation. "I still remember the spring many years ago when I hadn't cut my long hair, no credit card, no her, no home with 24-hour hot water. But I was so happy at that time, although I only had a broken wooden guitar, on the street, under the bridge, in the field, singing the song that no one cared about." Liao Jia's singing was deep and hoarse. Because he had drunk a lot of wine, he couldn't give full play to his strength, and he didn't control his breath very well. But listening to him sing, "in the spring," at the top of his voice in this bustling downtown still gave people a very shocking feeling. The diners on 4th Street had seen many singers in the food stalls, so they were already used to it. But they rarely saw the diners singing by themselves and singing so well. "If one day I have no one to rely on, please leave me here, in that time. If one day I leave quietly, please bury me here in the spring." At the climax of the chorus, strong emotions gushed out. Liao Jia's face turned purple, and the blue veins on his neck and forehead bulged, as if he had exhausted all his strength. The sonorous sound of the guitar seemed to knock on everyone's heart. At this time, the passers-by all stopped, and some raised their mobile phones. Even Lu Chen was infected by his singing. After Liao Jia sang the first time, he nodded at Lu Chen, indicating that he should sing as well. Lu Chen replied with a ha, and did not reject Liao Jia's invitation. He picked up an empty bottle on the table and held it upside down as a microphone, singing along with the accompaniment. Lu Chen was also a little drunk. His singing style of In the Spring was obviously different from Liao Jia's. It was not rough and hoarse, nor did it have the deep vicissitudes of life, but it contained the same burning emotions. I still remember those lonely spring days when I didn't even have a beard, no Valentine's Day, no presents, no my cute little princess, but I don't think it's that bad, even though I only have illusions about love, in the morning, in the night, in the wind, singing the song that no one cares about. This wasn't the first time Lu Chen had sung in the spring. Although he had sold the song to the Bionics, he still liked this song very much. However, from the first time he sang this song to the second time, his life had changed tremendously. The emotions of the song were also very different. He had more life insights that belonged to him. Singing to his heart's content, Lu Chen ignored the gazes from the surrounding people and sang with Liao Jia. They were like two crazy people who had too much to drink. But a crazy person who could play the guitar so well and sing so well, perhaps he could only find one in Beijing. Awesome! After singing in the spring, Liao Jia growled and picked up the beer on the table and drank it all in one breath. Clot, clot, clot. There was uneven applause around, and someone whistled loudly. There were also foreigners among the diners, who gave the two a thumbs up. Liao Jia put down the guitar and then returned it to the young man who sang. The young man took the guitar and asked tentatively, "May I ask if you are that?" Liao Jia was wearing sunglasses, but the sunglasses couldn't cover his whole face. The more he looked, the more familiar he felt. Liao Jia laughed and said, "You want to ask if I am Liao Jia? Hee, many people have asked me. In fact, I feel that I am more handsome than Liao Jia, and I sing better than him." The young man was speechless and lost interest in continuing to explore. He continued to sing with his girlfriend to make money. He thought about it and realized that it couldn't be Liao Jia, but the person in front of him could totally be on the Celebrity Impersonator show. "Friend, sing another song." The young couple had just left when someone at the next table shouted, "Sing a few more songs, I'll pay the bill." There were 5 people at that table, all young people in their 20s or 30s. They were all strong, like the trainers of a fitness club coming out for a meal. Some of them even had tattoos on their arms. These people also drank a lot, and the table was full of empty bottles. The guy who asked Liao Jia to sing another song had long hair, his breath reeking of alcohol, and his eyes were wandering. When he spoke, he waved his arms vigorously. Liao Jia was in the mood just now, so he borrowed the guitar and shouted a few times to vent all the depression in his heart. Now that he was in a good mood after shouting, how could he sing for others? He was not a singer. "Come on, let's continue drinking." Liao Jia didn't even look at the other person and said to Lu Chen, "Let's not stop until we're drunk tonight." F***CK. Before Lu Chen could answer, the long-haired young man was angry. He suddenly stood up with bloodshot eyes and shouted at Liao Jia, "I'm giving you face by asking you to sing. Don't be so shameless." Xiao Li immediately stood in front of Liao Jia and said coldly, "Friend, you've drunk too much." The long-haired young man had indeed drunk too much, so his rationality had dropped to the bottom. Without thinking, he picked up the bottle on the table and stepped forward to smash it at Xiao Li. As Liao Jia's personal assistant, Xiao Li was certainly not an ordinary person. Without waiting for the other person's bottle to hit him, he quickly kicked the other person's stomach. He could dodge if he wanted to, but Liao Jia was behind him. Therefore he could only fight back. The long-haired young man couldn't dodge in time. He staggered back with a muffled groan and bent over like a cooked prawn. However, he didn't fall to the ground. His expression became extremely ferocious as he roared, F***CK. The long-haired young man's physique was quite strong to be able to speak after being kicked in the stomach. It was also Xiao Li who controlled his strength. However, he obviously wouldn't appreciate it. Instead, he flew into a rage. "Cripple him." The long-haired young man's 4 companions exploded at the same time and pounced at Xiao Li. Xiao Li's expression changed instantly. He had practiced kickboxing before. It wasn't a problem for him to deal with a few ordinary people, but these people were obviously not ordinary people. If 4 or 5 people surrounded him, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Shaoli wasn't afraid of being at a disadvantage. Even if his limbs were broken, he would definitely be able to get them back later. However, if something were to happen to Liao Jia, his job would be completely ruined. Thinking of the serious consequences, Shaoli gritted his teeth and charged forward instead of retreating. His idea was to stall the other party. As long as someone called the police, he would be safe when the police arrived. This was Beijing, and public security had always been good. The 110 police were dispatched very quickly. Plop. To Shaoli's surprise, just as he took a step forward, one of the long-haired young man's companions suddenly lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. The person who helped him was none other than Lu Qin. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, Lu Qin stood up without a word and swept out with his right leg. He took down the guy closest to him first, causing him to lose his ability to fight. This guy was aiming for Liao Jia. The next moment, Lu Qin accelerated and charged forward like a hunting leopard. He suddenly turned sideways and slammed his shoulder into the second opponent, sending him flying. This unlucky guy crashed into his companion and even knocked over a table. The encirclement instantly collapsed. As for the long-haired young man, he recovered and flew into a rage when he saw the situation. He straightened his back and swung his fist at Lu Qin's face, using all his strength. Lu Qin stopped and turned around. He raised his right arm and pushed his elbow outwards to block the other party's fist. His left palm slashed out like lightning and hit the latter's throat. Ugh! The long-haired young man with an aggressive aura immediately rolled his eyes. His knees went weak and he knelt on the ground in pain. He covered his throat with his hand and vomited, but nothing came out. In the blink of an eye, Lu Qin had taken down 3 people. Shaoli seized the opportunity and punched another person in the face, knocking him to the ground. The last person was scared out of his wits. He scrambled to the street, leaving his companions behind. At that moment, the entrance of Old Zhu's Sichuan restaurant was in chaos. Some people were screaming, some were laughing, some were calling the police, and some were taking pictures. Li Gu, I'll leave this to you. Lu Qin took care of his opponent and immediately ran away with Liao Jia, who had just grabbed a bottle of wine. Shaoli kicked a guy who was struggling to get up and said without turning his head, "Don't worry." He could stay here and wait for the police to come, but Liao Jia and Lu Qin couldn't. Once their identities were exposed, they would definitely make the headlines tomorrow. There were already people taking pictures at the scene. Liao Jia was dragged to the street by Lu Qin, and his drunken brain finally sobered up a lot. He threw the bottle of wine in his hand into the trash can on the street and grabbed Lu Qin's shoulder. He panted and said, "Lu Qin, it's all thanks to you this time. I'll recognize you as a friend from now on." Lu Qin mixed into the crowd with Liao Jia and said slowly, "It's nothing. It's just a small matter." Helping Liao Jia was secondary. The most important thing was that he rarely let go and fought to his heart's content. Drinking, fighting. It had been a long time since he had such a good time. Liao Jia sighed and said, chose you for a reason. In any case, treat her well in the future. When you get married, I'll give you a big gift." Lu Qin was speechless. Chapter 241. Lu Qin and Liao Jia didn't go far. The reason why they had to leave the scene was mainly because their identities were too sensitive. Even if it was self-defense, it was easy to be labeled as a drunken brawl by the unscrupulous media, which would damage their image in the eyes of the public. After Liao Jia sobered up, he took out his mobile phone and made several calls. In the end, he said to Lu Qin, "It's basically okay. Those guys are from a security company. They weren't hurt. They were all detained by the police. Shaoli is already dealing with it. If there are photos and videos on the internet, you must not admit it." Lu Qin smiled and said, "I know that. Brother Liao, don't worry." Liao Jia reached out and patted Lu Qin on the shoulder heavily and said, "You're really good at fighting." He sincerely admired Lu Qin. Liao Jia had just graduated from junior high school and came out to mix in the underworld, so he was infected with the habits of the underworld. If he hadn't met Gao Yi, his teacher, it was estimated that he would be either buried in a ditch or squatting in a prison. When he was at the bottom, Liao Jia had fought with people more than once or twice, so when someone provoked him, he was not scared out of his wits. Instead, he grabbed a bottle and fought. His previous experience allowed him to see how strong Lu Chen was. The latter almost collapsed the opponent's main combat force in the blink of an eye. Although it was a sneak attack, there was no doubt that his strength was strong. Lu Chen was tall and handsome, but Liao Jia snorted. Lu Chen was talented, so Liao Jia had to look at him in a different light, but Lu Chen's fighting ability made him really admire and be convinced. This was the result of his character and life experience. Coupled with the effect of alcohol, Liao Jia said, "Lu Chen, we will be brothers in the future. If you encounter anything in the capital that you can't solve, just come to me." He patted his chest loudly. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He finally understood why people in the circle had such an evaluation of Liao Jia. Such a person may have a bad temper, but his heart was not bad. He was not like someone who smiled on the surface and stabbed in the back. Lu Chen said, "Brother Liao," ding ling ling, just as he opened his mouth, his phone rang. "I'll take this call first." It was actually Chen Feier who called Lu Chen. The Heavenly Queen seemed to be very angry and asked bluntly, "Is Liao Jia with you?" Lu Chen, Chen Feier said, "Give him the phone. I have something to say to him." Lu Chen had no choice but to hand the phone to Liao Jia. "Yours." Liao Jia was surprised. "Who is it? Why would anyone call Lu Chen to look for him?" He could not figure it out. Lu Chen smiled bitterly. Intuition told Lu Chen that Chen Feier must have found out about what had happened just now and was here to punish him. Wasn't this news spreading a little too fast? Liao Jia was not a fool. When he saw Lu Chen's expression, he immediately understood. Sister-in-law? Well, Chen Feier had become sister-in-law in his mouth. His expression changed. He waved his hand and said, "I won't take it. Just tell sister-in-law that I know I was wrong. I promise that such a thing will never happen again." Lu Chen was taken away by Liao Jia. If such a thing happened and it affected Lu Chen, Liao Jia would undoubtedly be the biggest responsibility. He was a veteran. Even if the fight was exposed, he did not need to care too much. Lu Chen could not. His original reputation was very good, and his career was on the rise. It was the time to accumulate popularity. Any flaw in his character could have a very bad impact. It was normal for Chen Feier to be angry. Not only did Liao Jia not pick up Chen Feier's call, but he also left. "I'm going to look for Shaoli. You can take a taxi back. I'll reimburse you after the fare. It's safe this way." Lu Chen was completely speechless. This guy was an old hooligan. In desperation, he could only say to Chen Feier, "Did you hear that? Brother Liao ran away." The monk can run away, but the temple can't run away. Chen Feier said angrily, "I will settle this debt with him. In the future, when you see him, take a detour." The Heavenly Queen nagged a lot to Lu Chen on the phone. She obviously did not like Liao Jia very much. She said that she was afraid that Lu Chen would be led astray by the latter and that he should be careful. Chen Feier even blamed Lu Chen. Why was he so impulsive? Lu Chen was speechless. In fact, Lu Chen felt that Liao Jia was not a bad person and could be friends. Of course, he would not say this to Chen Feier, who was in a rage. To be honest, this was the first time Lu Chen had seen Chen Feier so angry, even though it was over the phone. It was quite refreshing. After Chen Feier finished scolding, he probably felt that he was putting too much pressure on Lu Chen, so he asked softly, "Where are you now? Let me pick you up." Lu Chen quickly said, "There's no need to trouble yourself. I'll take a taxi home myself." Chen Feier thought for a moment and said, "Then go back and rest early. I will help you keep an eye on this matter." Lu Chen said, "Thank you." Chen Feier said softly, "You don't have to be so polite. I miss you a little." Lu Chen couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart, and his blood suddenly surged. "Then shall I come to find you now?" If he had known, he would have asked her to pick him up just now. Chen Feier smiled and said, "Go to bed early, good girl." She kissed him on the other end of the phone. Lu Chen was speechless. After leaving Siming Street, he stopped a taxi and went back to his apartment. The conflict that happened at the entrance of Lao Zhu's Sichuan restaurant that night did not cause any ripples in or out of the circle. Some people posted photos of the scene on their blogs, mainly suspecting Liao Jia. But because there was no behind-the-scenes manipulator, coupled with Liao Jia's public relations, several blog posts disappeared silently. Top-level stars usually have a strong public relations team behind them, which has a great influence on the media. It is very easy to control such insignificant matters. For example, the account that posted the blog post was quickly blocked on the grounds that it was a stolen account and posted bad advertisements. And from beginning to end, Lu Chen's name did not appear. However, on the 5th day after returning to Beijing, on the evening of November 21st, he appeared in the banquet hall of Regent Hotel. Regent Hotel was a famous 5-star hotel in Beijing. Lu Chen has been here more than once. The last time he came to this hotel was to attend the wedding of Chen Jianhao and Sister Na. And this time, he came to participate in the MSN Platinum celebration and fan meeting of Flying Stone Records. On November 5th, the MSN Beautiful Girl group of Flying Stone Records officially released their debut album, Not Yet Lovers. The album was sold simultaneously on QQ Music website and crowdfunding website. So far, in 17 days, the total sales of Not Yet Lovers has exceeded 500,000. The number of downloads and purchases on QQ Music website was more than 350,000, and the number on crowdfunding website was more than 140,000. Such a result was simply amazing. More than a decade or two ago, it was normal for A-list or even B-list singers and stars to sell hundreds of thousands of cassettes and CDs in more than half a month as long as the publicity was in place. The total sales of an album of those real superstars were often in the millions. But now, it was no longer possible. The great development of online media and entertainment industry had led to the proliferation of piracy. Even a big shot like Chen Fei has not sold more than 1 million albums in recent years. In fact, it was not easy to get the platinum record certification. As for those 3rd and 4th tier singers, an album was at most hundreds of thousands, and they had to use other means. Tens of thousands or even thousands were normal. MSN Beautiful Girl Group was a girl group that was just launched by Flying Stone Records this year. It was a card played by this veteran record company in order to compete for the young people's market after it was transformed into an entertainment company. Because of several failures, Flying Stone Records invested a lot of resources and funds in the building of MSN. The cost of the album, Not Yet Lovers, alone was more than 10 million. This kind of spending was rare even in Beijing, where entertainment companies were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Therefore, in the eyes of people in the industry, it was normal for Not Yet Lovers to do well, and it was abnormal for it to do poorly. However, no one expected that MSN would be so popular. Not to mention the big seller of Not Yet Lovers, just the pre-funding on the crowdfunding website, the 688 copies of the limited peripheral package with the highest price of 1,888 yuan were all sold out. With this, Flying Stone Records could earn almost $1 million. Therefore, although many people in the circle questioned the amazing sales of Not Yet Lovers, Flying Stone Records still held a platinum commemorative conference with satisfaction and invited their peers and MSN fans to congratulate them. As the creator and producer of the title song of Not Yet Lovers, Lu Chen was of course also invited. Lin Jijie personally came to Lu Chen's studio to deliver the invitation. The music director of Flying Stone Records told Lu Chen that the results of Not Yet Lovers were real. Originally, the company had prepared the money to buy the chart, but later found that it was not needed at all. The sales volume on the first day was shocking, and even the people inside the company exclaimed in disbelief. This platinum record was full of gold and could stand up to any investigation, so the celebration was completely justified. Lin Jijie also told Lu Chen that the current price of MSN's commercial performance had exceeded 300,000 yuan, and the brand endorsement fee was at least 1 million yuan. In time, it would inevitably become the pillar of Flying Stone Records. Or more accurately, it would be a money tree. Therefore, Flying Stone Records hoped to establish a deeper cooperation with Lu Chen's studio. For the next album, Lu Chen even got a share, and it was a share of the sales. He was, of course, a VIP guest at this celebration. When he arrived at the banquet hall of the Regent Hotel, it was already noisy, and dozens of tables were full of people. The big stage in front was decorated with flowers, and the big LED screen was playing the highlights of MSN's MV shooting and their life records. The senior executives of Flying Stone Records were standing on the red carpet. Everyone's face was full of warm smiles. Teacher Lu. As soon as Lu Chen came in, someone immediately greeted him. Chapter 242. At the celebration party of Flying Stone Records, there must be very few people who didn't know Lu Chen. It was normal for someone to greet him when they saw him. Now Lu Chen was also qualified to be called a teacher. He supervised MSN's debut album. That was how one's status was built up step by step. But Lu Chen didn't know the guy who greeted him at all. The other party was short and fat, with thin eyebrows, small eyes, a flat nose, and a bald head, which shone under the light of the room. He looked like a comedian who did crosstalk, but there was a big difference in his facial features. He walked quickly to Lu Chen, held out his hands, and said with a smile, "I'm so happy to see you." An authentic Beijing accent. Lu Chen shook hands with him subconsciously and said in a daze, "Hello, who are you?" The short and fat man immediately introduced himself. "I'm from Hongpeng Media, Old Wu." Before he could finish, he was interrupted by someone. And the one who interrupted him was none other than Lin Jijie. Behind the music director of Flying Stone Records were three beautiful girls with smiling faces, Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia, and Ning Tian. Lu Chen's attention was immediately distracted. Lin Jijie came over and said with a smile, "Lu Chen, this is Wu Sheng, President Wu of Hongpeng Media." "President Wu, I have something to discuss with Lu Chen. Do you mind?" The latter two sentences were said by Lin Jijie to the short and fat man. He had a smile on his face, but there was not much smile in his eyes, and there was a bit of coldness. Strictly speaking, Lin Jijie's approach was against social etiquette. Even if there were any grudges, he shouldn't sweep the other party's face at his own celebration party. Everyone who came was a guest. But Lu Chen believed that Lin Jijie must have a reason. Without batting an eyelid, he withdrew his hand. Wu Sheng was still smiling as if he didn't care at all. He said, "Of course I don't mind. You guys talk." He turned to Lu Chen and said, "Mr. Lu, let's talk later." Lu Chen smiled and nodded. In a situation where the truth was unknown, maintaining basic courtesy was the most appropriate choice. After Wu Sheng left, Lin Jijie snorted as he watched him leave. He pulled Lu Chen to the side and reminded him, "This person is very dishonest. Very few people who work with him come out unscathed. His reputation in the industry is ruined, so it's best not to have any dealings with him." So that was how it was. Lu Chen nodded to show that he understood. He knew that Lin Jijie would not speak ill of others behind their backs. He reminded him out of kindness. However, Lu Chen was also very curious. "Then why did you invite him over?" Lin Jijie said helplessly, "Someone in our company is very familiar with him, so we gave him an invitation. The bigger the company, the more complicated the situation." The water in the entertainment industry was even more bottomless. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aren't you afraid of offending him?" Lin Jijie said disdainfully, "Why should I be afraid of him? By the way, he has a very good relationship with Jin Hongwei." Jin Hongwei? Lu Chen hadn't heard of this name for a long time, but he would never forget it. The grudge between him and Jin Hongwei was very deep. Just this point alone was enough for Lu Chen to keep a respectful distance from Wu Sheng. He didn't want to get involved with him. However, he had already remembered this person. Seeing that Lu Chen understood his good intentions, Lin Jijie was also happy. He waved and said, "Little Mu, come here." He called the three beautiful girls over. In fact, Mu Xiaochu had been following behind. Seeing Lin Jijie's gesture, they all stepped forward and stood in front of Lu Chen. They bowed and said, "Thank you, Teacher Lu." They were sincerely grateful to Lu Chen. Whether it was Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia, or Ning Tian, they were all unknown students or newcomers a few months ago. Now, MSN has become a rapidly popular girl group. Not to mention the benefits, just walking on the street, the probability of them being recognized was 100%. Lin Jijie said that the person they needed to thank the most was Lu Chen. In the pop music industry, there has always been the saying, "One song becomes famous." A classic song can make a newcomer popular. Although there is still a need for publicity and packaging, There is no hard work to rely on, and hype can only succeed for a while. There are many girl groups like MSN who take the youth idol route in China. Flying Stone Records has set up too. However, most of the girl groups are either disbanded or struggling half-dead, and there are very few who really succeed. Some of the members of these girl groups are not worse than MSN, but they did not achieve the success of MSN. The reason, in addition to resource input, luck, timing, etc., was that the most important thing was that there were no good songs that could be sung in the streets. Good songs and good singers complement each other. The reason why the album Not Yet Lovers was so popular was that the promotion of Flying Stone Records contributed a lot, but more importantly, Lu Chen tailored and produced 3 songs for MSN, including the title song. From the evaluation of fans and listeners, it was Not Yet Lovers, Where's Love, and He Still Doesn't Understand that made this album have the quality and potential of platinum and won the love of countless people. In the latest issue of the original music chart, all 3 songs were ranked in the top 20. Among the other works in the same album, only one barely squeezed into the chart, and it was still at the bottom. Lu Chen's star-holding skill can be seen at a glance. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Why are you so polite? I didn't bring a red envelope." To participate in this celebration, she sent a pair of flower baskets in the name of Lu Chen Studio, which were placed at the door. He was already very familiar with the 3 beautiful girls, and their relationship was very good after cooperation. There was really no need to be so polite. Mu Xiaochu and the other 2 straightened up, looking a little bashful. They looked at each other as if they wanted to say something but hesitated. Lu Chen was curious, "What's wrong?" Lin Jijia coughed and said, "It's like this. The children just had an idea, that is, to take advantage of this celebration to formally worship you as their teacher. What do you think?" Lu Chen was suddenly stunned. He hadn't been in the entertainment industry for a long time, but he still had a good understanding of the various rules in the circle. Whether it was in the pop music world or the entertainment industry, worshipping a teacher was a very serious matter. It was definitely not a joke. Both sides had corresponding responsibilities and obligations. If MSN worshipped Lu Chen as a teacher, then he and the 3 girls in front of him would be deeply involved. Mu Xiaochu, Su Jejia and Ning Tian bit their lips and looked at Lu Chen without blinking. Their eyes all showed a look of expectation, and some of their pretty faces showed a touch of shyness. To be honest, the temptation was really great. Lu Chen shook his head and said with a smile, "Brother Jijia, I regard Xiaochu and the others as my younger sisters. Let's forget about formally worshipping a teacher." He knew that the idea of worshipping a teacher was most likely Lin Jijia's idea, and it was probably a temporary idea. Otherwise, Lin Jijia would definitely have communicated with him in advance. This idea was actually very good, and it was good for both sides. With the relationship of master and apprentice, then for MSN's next album, Lu Chen had to do it even if he didn't want to, and he also had to ensure the quality and sales. Otherwise, he would lose face. On the other hand, with a disciple like MSN, Lu Chen's position in the circle would undoubtedly improve big. The more popular MSN was, the higher his position would be. For example, if others wanted to ask Lu Chen for a song, they didn't need him to open his mouth. They had to put forward a price tag first. The reference for the price tag was bound to be MSN. The most important thing was that the next time Lu Chen made an album for MSN, he would be able to ask for a share of the profits. Of course, correspondingly, Lu Chen would be more deeply tied to Flying Stone Records. And it was precisely this that made him decline Lin Jijia's proposal and not fall into the temptation of beautiful girls. From the beginning to the end, Lu Chen wanted to take the road of an independent and free big star. He didn't want to be tied down. Lu Chen's refusal was not unexpected to Lin Jijia. The music director of Flying Stone Records was more or less disappointed, because he really wanted to pull Lu Chen into his own camp. However, Lin Jijia didn't care too much. He just wanted to give it a try. It was a great thing to succeed, but he didn't need to be discouraged if he failed, and it wouldn't affect the relationship between the 2 sides. Lin Jijia even admired Lu Chen. A hot-blooded young man like him could actually resist MSN's plea. His will was really firm. Lin Jijia settled for the next best thing. "Well, but you have to take care of a few younger sisters in the future. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Brother Jijie, just don't try your best to cheat me. None of the veterans in the entertainment industry were simple. Lin Jijie's character was very good, but he also had his own calculations, but he would not do things at the expense of others for his own benefit. Lin Jijie smiled. What are you talking about? Fei and I are good friends. How can I cheat you? The relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Fei could be hidden from outsiders, but it was not a secret to people in the circle. Everyone just had a tacit understanding. If anyone deliberately revealed it, they would offend more people. This was one of the rules in the circle. Lin Jijie had a good relationship with Lu Chen and Chen Fei, so it was no problem to make jokes. It was just that when Mu Xiaochu listened, a trace of sadness flashed in her eyes. Lu Chen's love for her was completely the kind of brother's love for his sister, and nothing else was involved. She liked Lu Chen, but it was not that simple. Lin Jijie could see that when he asked MSN to acknowledge Lu Chen as their master, he actually wanted her to give up. This was unspeakable. Of course, the protagonist tonight was still MSN. At 7:30, the celebration party officially began. As usual, the senior representative of Flying Stone Records first came to the stage to give a speech. Fortunately, there was not much nonsense. The ceremony was quite grand and filled with a happy and festive atmosphere. The three beautiful girls of MSN appeared on the stage with warm music accompaniment and sang "Not Yet Lovers" to the guests at the scene. Compared with their inexperience when they were just formed, their singing and dancing skills had made great progress. After the song was sung, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Chapter 243. The first girl group in the country was established in 2000. After more than 10 years of development, there were currently more than 20 girl groups active in the entertainment industry. Of course, only those with a little fame and strength were counted, and those teams formed by a few newcomers were not included. Although the domestic entertainment industry was developing rapidly and the market cake was getting bigger and bigger, the more so, the fiercer the competition, especially in the field where the market positioning was very clear, it had long become a Red Sea. A girl group had at least 3 to 5 members, and as many as dozens. For entertainment record companies, the resources and effort it took to make a girl group popular were undoubtedly far more than that of a single singer. Flying Stone Records made a heavy bet on MSN in order to bite off a big piece of cake in this market. Unlike most girl groups, especially those in Japan and South Korea, in the industry's view, the timing of Flying Stone Records' launch of MSN was not very suitable. They rushed into battle without full preparation and seemed too eager for success. Like the girl groups in South Korea, most of the members were carefully selected from the trainees of the brokerage company. They studied hard for several years and had a very solid basic skills. Even so, they may not be recognized by the market, and the elimination rate was very high. Among the members of MSN, Su Jiejia was still normal. She was originally a trainee, and there was no problem with her foundation. Ning Tian graduated from the Academy of Music, but after all, what she learned was different. As for Mu Xiaochu, he was even worse. He was a student of Beijing Institute of Foreign Languages and only gained a little fame through Singing China, and the others were not worth mentioning. Such a team should have needed at least a year and a half to be qualified to appear. But Flying Stone Records violated this rule. MSN had just been established and released its debut album, and spent a lot of money to package and publicize it, and it was also a great success. Therefore, many of the peers who were invited to support them came to enjoy the performance of the three beautiful girls on the stage with a mentality of envy, jealousy, and hatred. It was undeniable that after the promotional tour all over the country some time ago, the three girls had been trained. Their accompanying dancers' singing couldn't be said to be perfect, but at least it was pleasing to the ear. The cheers of the fans sitting in the banquet hall could almost overturn the ceiling. At this platinum celebration meeting, Flying Stone Records generously invited 280 members of the Mission Support Group, that is, real Iron Rice fans, to participate. Many members from other places even reimbursed their travel and accommodation expenses. It was worth mentioning that the other 70 participants were given to Lu Chen's fan club, Lu Jiejun. The reason was very simple. Since Lu Chen and MSN started to cooperate, Lu Jiajun had established a good relationship with the MSN support group. Lu Jiajun had long regarded Mu Xiaochu as Lu Chen's sister and affectionately called her little sister Xiaochu. With this relationship, coupled with a natural love for beautiful girls, Lu Jiajun contributed to a high proportion of MSN's album sales. If the platinum record is a bright metal, then Lu Jiajun's contribution is indispensable. And for this, Flying Stone Records was not only happy to see it, but even vigorously promoted it. If it weren't for the limited reception capacity of the banquet hall of the Regent Hotel, the number of places would definitely be increased a lot. After the first song, Not Yet Lovers, was sung, Ning Tian asked with a smile, "Thank you, everyone. So which song do you want to listen to next?" In MSN, Ning Tian was the oldest. She was 20 years old and came from the Northern Conservatory of Music. She could be regarded as a real professional background. She had the best figure and was the most beautiful. She had been determined to be the captain of MSN. Fans liked her eyes the most. When she smiled, it seemed to speak, which made people involuntarily attracted. As soon as Ning Tian's voice fell, a fan immediately shouted, "Love." He still doesn't understand. Apart from Not Yet Lovers, there were basically only these two songs. There were almost no people who shouted about other songs in the album. And this also reminded those colleagues present once again that all three songs were created by Lu Chen. Many people looked at Lu Chen, who was sitting at the front, at the same time. Their eyes were very complicated. Although some people attributed the explosive sales of MSN's debut album, Not Yet Lovers, to the packaging hype of Flying Stone Records at all costs, and even said that the sales results were falsified and belonged to false prosperity, which would be exposed sooner or later. But for people in the industry who really understand the industry, this kind of sour grapes mentality was not worth mentioning. Flying Stone Records had indeed invested a lot, but without the three good songs tailored for MSN by Lu Chen, it would have been impossible to have such excellent results. Lu Chen's creative talent was beyond doubt. What people wondered was how far he could go on the road of originality. After all, in the past history of pop music, there were many examples of a sudden outbreak and then a quick silence. Exhaustion of inspiration, complacency, no desire to make progress, living on past achievements. Not many singers can maintain a long-term and vigorous creative state, and the same was true for professional writers. Many songwriters, after creating one or a few good songs, basically faded into the crowd. There was no more flash of inspiration, and they relied on their past reputation and basic skills to get by. Lu Chen should be different from them, but after a detailed analysis of Lu Chen's works in the past 6 months, everyone was surprised to find that his creative desire was strong and his inspiration was rich, which had reached an incredible level. It was no exaggeration to say that Lu Chen was the most outstanding singer and songwriter in the domestic pop music world in the past decade. Even if his debut time was still very short, his accumulation in the circle was not enough, and there was a big gap between him and the real big stars. But in terms of creative talent alone, there were really not many people who could compare with him. One song, In the Spring, one, You Who Sat Next to Me, and one, Not Yet Lovers, were the flags that Lu Chen had inserted in the pop music world, fluttering in the wind, making everyone look at him. And he was currently involved in the production of Chen Fei's new album, The Transformation of the Heavenly Queen. Once Chen Fei's album was successful, then Lu Chen's position in the circle would be unshakable. Everyone envied Lu Chen's talent. They were jealous of the cooperative relationship between Flying Stone Records and him. They hated why they didn't make a move earlier, otherwise, there might be a girl group similar to MSN under his banner. There were performers who came to the celebration party. It was said that the commercial performance price offered to MSN was more than 300,000. Flying Stone Records actually had no intention of agreeing, and it was estimated that the price would rise again. This sour feeling almost made people's teeth fall off from the sourness. There were also some quick-witted people who thought that they should find an opportunity to talk to Lu Chen later. Lu Chen didn't sign up with any entertainment agency. He opened his own studio. As long as he paid enough price, even if he couldn't get the same treatment as Flying Stone Records, it would be no problem to buy a good song, right? Unknowingly, Lu Chen's reputation has been built. On the stage, Ning Tian waited for the fans to finish shouting before she said with a smile, "Since everyone likes Where's Love, and he still doesn't understand, shall we sing both songs?" This time, the fans were all satisfied. Good. In fact, she didn't need to say it. These songs were also going to be sung, but Ning Tian had other ideas. Everyone knows that your favorite songs were written by Big Lu Chen, so in the following song he will accompany us. What do you think? Good. The fans were simply boiling. They shouted Lu Chen's name, Lu Chen Big. In local dialects, da had different meanings such as big brother, dad, uncle, and so on. However, the popular th on the internet was generally used to refer to an expert, a great person, or a great person. It was used to express unparalleled respect and worship for someone. Ning Tian called Lu Chen big instead of teacher. On the one hand, it was to express this reverence and worship. On the other hand, it was to get close to the fans. The fans who came to this celebration, whether it was the MSN support group or Lu Jiajun, were basically young people. They happened to be the main force of netizens, so they felt particularly cordial when they heard this title. It was hard to refuse the so-called hospitality. Lu Chen had to stand up and wave to everyone. Ning Tian took 2 steps forward and stood on the edge of the stage. With a charming smile on her pretty face, she leaned over and reached out to Lu Chen. This was an invitation gesture. Fortunately, Ensign took the route of youth and purity, not sexy and charming. Ning Tian's dress was very conservative. Otherwise, this would be a great show of spring, which would be a feast for everyone's eyes. The fans laughed, shouted, and applauded one after another. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing and didn't refuse to hold Ning Tian's little hand. The stage of the banquet hall was not high. With his skill, he was easily pulled up by this beautiful girl. At this time, the staff pushed out the piano that had been prepared. A beautiful white grand piano. Lu Chen took the microphone and said to everyone, "I'm very happy to be able to attend MSN's Platinum celebration tonight. I've met so many friends. Well, the food is also very delicious." Everyone laughed. Lu Chen continued, "And what makes me happiest is that MSN has won the success they deserve, because in the process of cooperation, I saw how hard they worked and serious. I've seen Ning Tian sing until 12 o'clock in the evening in order to practice singing. I've seen Mu Xiaochu, Sister Xiaochu, practice dancing, and the soles of her feet were rubbed with blood blisters, but she still gritted her teeth and persisted." And Su Jiajia. The banquet hall became very quiet. Whether it was the senior management of Flying Stone Records or the invited peers, whether it was MSN's support group or Lu Jiajun fans, they all listened carefully to Lu Chen tell the story he knew. Really a story. It was precisely because of the lack of foundation that in the production process of Not Yet Lovers, the 3 girls really put in a lot of effort. Sweating and crying were commonplace, and injuries during the practice process were common. Not only Lin Jijie, but Lu Chen was also very strict with them. But the 3 delicate girls all persisted and did not delay the scheduled release time of the album. When others saw the success of Not Yet Lovers, they either said that it was because of the support of Flying Stone Records, or that Lu Chen wrote a good impression for them, or that it was easy for them to attract fans because they were young and beautiful. Only no one mentioned the efforts they had made. So at this moment, what Lu Chen wanted to tell everyone was that their success was not a fluke. Chapter 244. Success comes from hard work. This was Lu Chen's praise for the 3 members of MSN, and it was also a spur for himself. With the memory wealth of a world, he could lie on it and eat until the end of time. He didn't need to pay much effort, and it was enough to exchange for money and honor that others couldn't earn in a lifetime. But Lu Chen's goal was never to be a moth. His efforts were no worse than anyone else's. He practiced martial arts every day, rain or shine. He tried to take time out of work to go to Jingyin to listen to lectures to recharge. In order to write the script, he often worked late into the night. What Lu Chen hoped was that if one day all the memories from the dream world suddenly disappeared, he could still rely on his own ability to make a name for himself, so that he wouldn't waste this wonderful life. And the story he told fell into the ears of different people, and naturally had different feelings. The senior management of Flying Stone Records was very happy because they got an excellent publicity material. The fans of MSN's support group and Lu Jiajun were moved when they heard it. But Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia and Ning Tian couldn't suppress the feelings that were touched in their hearts. Ning Tian's eyes were red. She bit her lip and stuck out her chest. There was a trace of stubbornness in her proud expression. Mu Xiaochu lowered his head and leaned gently on Su Jiejia's shoulder, sobbing. And Su Jiejia was already in tears. They were the clearest about the efforts they had made. Even if they had won, they couldn't erase those unforgettable memories. After Lu Chen finished telling the story of MSN that he knew, he looked at the three girls in tears and said apologetically, "I'm really sorry to say so many unhappy things. Next, I will play He Still Doesn't Understand. I invite the three beautiful and brave girls to sing for us." There was an extremely warm applause in the audience, and everyone stood up. They were all cheering for MSN. The three girls were very embarrassed to wipe away the tears on their faces and hugged each other. Lu Chen sat in front of the piano. He brewed his emotions a little, and then confidently pressed the keys. Now Lu Chen's piano level had made great progress than before, and the prelude was played smoothly. The banquet hall quieted down again. Everyone returned to their seats and listened to the young girls sing. Ning Tian was the first to speak. "Why don't you understand my love for you? I really love you." This was a cutting-edge dialogue from He Still Doesn't Understand. "What do you want to say?" The cups were already empty. Closing his eyes, he felt a heavy snowfall in his heart. The weather was cold and the ground was frozen. Have we arrived? When love pays the bill, all that was left was the loneliness of each paying the bill. Why, when I opened the door, he didn't stop me. He still did not understand. I still don't understand. He left because he wanted to be asked to stay. If I open my mouth, it's just the gentleness I want. He still did not understand. They would never understand. One hug can replace all. Love can definitely sway me. As a song sung by women, He Still Doesn't Understand was very different from the popular works of female groups in terms of style. There was a touch of sadness in the soothing affection, which could easily evoke the helplessness and powerlessness of love in people's hearts. Compared with the little sweetness of Not Yet Lovers, the theme of this song was more adult, but it was still liked by many fans and was considered the most durable work in this album. In the eyes of professionals, MSN sang well, but she didn't grasp the emotions and artistic conception expressed in the work very well. The reason was very simple. The lyrics of this love song mainly described the heartache of a woman who didn't know how to love a man. How could such an outstanding girl like Emson have such understanding and experience? The serious thing was that there were a lot of boys pursuing them, and the heartache was that they couldn't get what they wanted. However, among the three of them, Mu Xiaochu's emotions were more in place. If Su Jiejia and Ning Tian's emotional performance score was 4 or 5 points, she had at least 7 or 8 points. The full score was 10 points. What do you want to use? Melt this silence, sigh in the cold air around, turn into smoke and float away. All the past, roll into a snowball in my heart. I'm afraid that tears will flow before I speak. It's not that he doesn't give much love, it's that I don't know what I want. He still doesn't understand, he still doesn't understand. To leave is to be asked to stay. If I open my mouth, it's just the gentleness I want. He still doesn't understand, will never understand. A hug can replace all, love can definitely shake me. Save me at the first moment. After singing, the three girls held hands and bowed to the guests and fans under the stage to thank them. The applause was like a tide. They turned around and saluted Lu Chen again. The three girls were very clear that their success today was inseparable from Lu Chen. They all hoped that they could maintain such a friendship with Lu Chen forever. Lu Chen got up, smiled, and applauded. The three girls looked at each other and smiled with joy. Next, they sang the third song of the night, Where's Love? It was still accompanied by Lu Chen. Although there was no gorgeous arrangement of electronic music, this cooperation made the fans feel more real. Where's Love ended, and Lu Chen was ready to leave the stage. As a result, someone shouted from the audience, "Let's have another duet." Many people suddenly laughed and jeered, "Yes, let's have a duet." Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia, and Ning Tian looked at each other. The latter too held Mu Xiaochu on the left and right, smiled and pushed her in front of Lu Chen. Let Xiaochu and Big Lu Chen sing a duet. This was actually a program arranged for tonight, an Easter egg for the fans. The person who just shouted for a duet was, of course, a supporter of Flying Stone Records. For fans, the truth was not important. What was important was that they got a surprise and happiness. At this moment, in Whale TV Lu Chen's live broadcast room, the number of online viewers has exceeded the 1 million mark. After re-signing with Whale TV, Lu Chen was no longer a simple online anchor, but a star spokesperson of Whale TV, and the treatment he enjoyed was vastly different from before. Like tonight's MSN Platinum Celebration Party, Flying Stone Records, Whale TV, and Lu Chen Studio had already communicated with each other, and Whale TV had obtained exclusive online live broadcast rights. Due to the continuous expansion of the online live broadcast market, entertainment agencies have long been eyeing this cake. Several websites are associated with a certain media company, focusing on cultivating their own internet celebrities and then transitioning to the entertainment industry. In turn, some second and third-tier star artists, who originally disdained online anchors, have also become interested in online live broadcast. Individual stars have opened their own live broadcast rooms to gather popularity and fans. Lu Chen's success is an excellent example. He became famous on the online platform, completed a leap in his stardom with the help of the power of netizens, and still retains the identity of an online anchor. It is said that Flying Stone Records also intends to let MSN open a live broadcast room on Whale TV, and the two sides are in negotiations. The live broadcast in Lu Chen's live broadcast room in the evening was the beginning of the cooperation. When Mu Xiaochu was pushed out to sing a duet with Lu Chen, the barrage in the live broadcast room was instantly filled with messages. Haha, who came up with the idea of a man and a woman singing a duet? I want to give him a like. I guess it's little sister Xiaochu. Little sister Xiaochu is mighty. Little sister Xiaochu is the most talkative. I feel that she and Big Lu Chen are really suitable for each other. Sweat, brother and sister relationship. It's a brother and sister relationship. Why not sing a duet with MSN? Are you stupid? MSN has 3 girls. How can they sing a duet? Then why Mu Xiaochu? It's very simple. Little sister Xiaochu is Lu Chen's big sister. Su Jiejia and Ning Tian are godsisters. Sister plus 1. The friendship between Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu was first established when they participated in Singing China. At that time, Mu Xiaochu appeared in the live broadcast and sang a song. Lu Chen's fans all like this pure and lovely girl very much. They like her shyness, like her moving voice, and affectionately call her little sister Xiaochu. In their eyes, Mu Xiaochu is Lu Chen's sister. In contrast, Su Jiejia and Ning Tian are much worse, so when everyone sees Mu Xiaochu and Lu Chen singing a duet, they all take it for granted. Otherwise, they will be dissatisfied. Although it was a prearranged program, Mu Xiaochu, who was pushed in front of Lu Chen, still blushed. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Then let's sing a song for everyone." Mu Xiaochu nodded vigorously, as if she was holding a little rabbit in her arms, excited, and a little uneasy. Because of this song, the two have only rehearsed it once, and she was afraid that she wouldn't sing it well. Lu Chen gave Mu Xiaochu an encouraging look and sat down in front of the piano again. This male and female duet was written at the temporary request of Flying Stone Records. Originally, Flying Stone Records wanted Lu Chen to choose someone else's song, but Lu Chen put forward a better idea. He will provide a new song for a male and female duet. Of course, Flying Stone Records was overjoyed and immediately said that they would buy the work. The big sale of Not Yet Lovers has made the veteran record company's confidence in Lu Chen reach its peak. Many of its singers have been ready to make a move and express the idea of cooperating with Lu Chen through their agents. Lu Chen has been busy with the filming of TV series recently, and it is impossible for Flying Stone Records to ask him to write many songs for himself. They are eagerly waiting for the right opportunity. Now that Lu Chen took the initiative to propose it, it was exactly what they wanted. The price was not a problem at all. and it was also an excellent gimmick to use at this celebration. Lu Chen once again played the piano, playing the prelude to his first duet work between men and women. Note, he still doesn't understand lyrics. Su Shizhen/composer, Wang Jiping. Chapter 245. Whale TV, Lu Chen Live Broadcast Room. Since Lu Chen re-signed the endorsement contract with Whale TV, his live broadcast room has been upgraded at the same time. During the contract period, there is a Star Express on the homepage, and he enjoys the best treatment on the website. MSN's Platinum Celebration was broadcast live in Lu Chen's live broadcast room, and Whale TV advertised it early. Therefore, after the live broadcast began, the number of online viewers in Lu Chen's live broadcast room quickly broke through the 1 million mark. Although the current Lu Chen is far from being comparable to the big shots in the circle, he is definitely the biggest star from Whale TV. At present, the number of fans following him has reached more than 1.5 million. With the help of this popularity, Whale TV seemed to have recovered to its original peak state. Tonight's live broadcast of the celebration was undoubtedly the best proof. Especially when Lu Chen went on stage to perform with MSN, the number of online viewers in the live broadcast room rose steadily, 1.5 million, 7 million, 9 million to 3 million. When Lu Chen was about to start singing with Mu Xiaochu, the number of online viewers exceeded 2.6 million. This was the highest number of online viewers in an individual live broadcast room since the opening of Whale TV, and it was also the highest record for Lu Chen. In just a few minutes, the total number of fish balls smashed exceeded 100T. Although Lu Chen no longer relies on the live broadcast's reward share to make money, and the proportion of this part of the total income is getting smaller and smaller, he will undoubtedly share the most daily income tonight. Such a speed of making money is enough to make many third or fourth tier stars jealous. And no one will doubt that this is not the limit that Lu Chen can reach. The existence of a record is to be broken. The emotions of the fans were stirred to the peak. The barrage and fish balls were like a downpour. Of course, Lu Chen, who was at the scene, couldn't understand the excitement and noise in the live broadcast room, but the enthusiasm of the fans in the banquet hall was enough to make his mood rise, and his fingers pressing the keys were particularly powerful. He turned his head and sang with a smile to the shy Mu Xiaochu, "You are a song in my heart, a flower blooms in my heart." The name of the song was "You Are a Song in My Heart." Mu Xiaochu gathered his courage and looked into Lu Chen's eyes. He raised the microphone and said, "You are the song of my life. My longing will converge into a river." When she sang these two lines, the girl's eyes shone with bravery and determination. She liked Lu Chen. She also knew that Lu Chen liked her, but this kind of like had nothing to do with romantic feelings. Mu Xiaochu even knew that the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Feier was not ordinary. It was very likely that they were dating. However, Mu Xiaochu never thought of giving up. She first met Lu Chen at the backstage of Singing China competition. From the first sight, she had a good impression of him. Later, Lu Chen took care of her, which made her have feelings for him. It was just that at that time, Mu Xiaochu didn't have enough courage to take the initiative to confess, so it was wrong. But she still liked Lu Chen. So, she cherished the time she spent with Lu Chen, just like tonight's duet. What this song sang was Mu Xiaochu's inner voice. A girl's feelings were always poetry. You are a song in my heart, don't just be a passerby. Leave a song in my life, no matter what the outcome will be. I want to ask you, do you have feelings for me? Silence for too long, it will only make me make mistakes. You are a song in my heart, don't just be a passerby. Leave a song in my life, no matter what the outcome will be. This song, You Are a Song in My Heart, has a pleasant melody and is easy to remember. The lyrics are catchy and the style of the song is simple and fresh. The form of a duet between a man and a woman makes the whole song full of warm flavor, neither sad nor sad. It is very suitable for Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu's age. Although the lyrics involve love songs are like this. With the relationship between the two, everyone will not have any misunderstanding and will only feel that it is extraordinarily beautiful. In particular, the cooperation between the two is so tacit that it makes people jealous. Ning Tian and Su Jiejia were really jealous, because they knew very well that this song was temporarily taken out by Lu Chen as a surprise for his fans at tonight's celebration, and he chose Mu Xiaochu as the female lead. Although they knew that Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu have long had a sibling friendship, now that they saw the scene of the two singing to each other, they still felt envious from the bottom of their hearts. Why am I not the one accompanying Lu Chen? You are a song in my heart, a flower blooms in my heart. You are a song in my life, my longing converges into a river. I really want to ask you, do you have feelings for me? Silence for too long, it will only make me accidentally make mistakes. Accidentally make mistakes, you are a song in my heart. Don't just be a passerby, leave a song in my life, no matter what the ending will be. After singing the last sentence, Lu Chen raised his hands and smiled at Mu Xiaochu. At this time, silence is better than words. At this moment, the two really have a tacit understanding and completely understand each other's hearts. Mu Xiaochu likes, admires, and is sentimental to Lu Chen. Lu Chen cherishes, loves, and cares for her. Applause rang out from all directions, surrounding the two of them, lasting and enthusiastic. Lu Chen's live broadcast room completely exploded. The barrage completely blocked the window, densely stacked. What a beautiful song. It's so warm and romantic. I really hope that big Lu Chen can be with Sister Xiaochu. Sister Xiaochu is mine. No one can take her away. Ha, together, together. Can you sing it again? I still want to hear it. When are you going to release a new album or single? My player can't wait any longer. This is Lu Chen Big's first duet between a man and a woman, right? Yes. Lu Chen stood up and reached out to Mu Xiaochu. Mu Xiaochu was stunned at first, but she quickly understood. A faint blush appeared on her pretty face, and she quickly put her small hand into Lu Chen's big hand. Lu Chen's hand was very warm. The two of them held hands and bowed to Ready-Made and the fans in the live stream to thank them. The atmosphere in the banquet instantly reached the climax of the night. After the greeting, Mu Xiaochu suddenly became bold. She turned around and opened her arms to hug Lu Chen. Thank you, brother Lu Chen. Lu Chen was a little stunned, then he laughed involuntarily and hugged the girl. He gently patted Mu Xiaochu on the shoulder and said softly, "You sang very well." Lu Chen always knew that Mu Xiaochu had feelings for him. It would be a lie to say that he was not moved. But Lu Chen could only give her so much. And this extremely warm scene was immediately captured by the photographer at the scene. Many years later, when people recalled the story between Lu Chen and MSN, this classic photo would always appear. The two hugged for a moment, and Mu Xiaochu took the initiative to let go. Sing one more song. There were fans shouting under the stage, and they immediately got a response from the crowd. Sing one more song. Lu Chen smiled and waved his hand. Singing one song was enough. It was MSN's platinum celebration in the evening. He couldn't steal the show, could he? Amidst the regretful sighs of many fans, Lu Chen returned to his seat. The celebration continued. Lu Chen's buttocks had just sat down when Lin Jijie came over and asked, "Did you write this song specifically for Xiaochu? Or was it in the original reserve?" Any songwriter, even if they didn't receive a business order, would definitely create something when inspiration came. Such a work was a reserve, and it would be released at the right time. That was why Lin Jijie had such a question. The relationship was very big. If Lu Chen wrote it specifically for Mu Xiaochu, then Flying Stone Records could consider releasing a single for Mu Xiaochu and set her as the sole core of MSN. If the MSN group was disbanded in the future, Mu Xiaochu would have the foundation to fly solo. And if it was just Lu Chen's reserve work, Flying Stone Records would buy it and not give it to MSN. They had been in the limelight recently, and it was time to give the company's singers and artists a chance. A love song between a man and a woman could support 2 stars. Such an example was not uncommon. More than 20 years ago, there was a couple of singers who relied on a love song that everyone was familiar with to get to the present, and they could still receive commercial performances from time to time. Lu Chen understood Lin Jijie's meaning. He thought for a moment and said, "It's not specifically for Xiaochu." Since I promised to give it to your company, it's up to you to arrange it yourself. He felt that it was not appropriate for Mu Xiaochu to take on the pillar of MSN now. It was actually very reasonable for Flying Stone Records to determine Ning Tian as the captain of MSN. The two had different personalities. Lin Jijia said with a smile, "Then I know, you really treat Xiaochu." He shook his head, with a hint of banter on his face. "Aren't you afraid that Fei will be jealous?" Lin Jijia and Chen Fei were very good friends, and now he was also very good friends with Lu Chen. He knew the most about the relationship between the two, so he could tease them a little. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Director Lin, I regard Xiaochu as my younger sister." Lin Jijia smiled and said nothing. Wasn't it a very simple thing for a sworn sister to become a love sister? Mu Xiaochu's affection for Lu Chen could be seen by anyone. Unfortunately, Lu Chen had Chen Fei. Of course, he wouldn't ask too much about the affairs between young people, but just kindly remind them. Emerson was now the cash cow of Flying Stone Records. The next time was the time for the three girls to interact with their fans, as well as the live lottery and so on. The lively celebration party didn't end until 10 o'clock in the evening. On the third day after participating in MSN Platinum Celebration Party, Lu Chen left the capital and returned to Jinling. Because the second episode of Autumn in My Heart had been filmed, the third episode would soon be filmed. And he would officially make his debut in the second half of the third episode. Note: You Are a Song in My Heart, lyrics, Ding Xiaowen / composer, Wang Lihom. Chapter 246. The weekend drama, Autumn in My Heart, jointly invested by Lu Chen Studio, Chen Fei, Studio, and Chenda Brothers Pictures, started shooting on November 17th. Lu Chen returned to Beijing with Chen Fei after attending the opening ceremony on the 17th. They left Beijing on the morning of the 23rd and returned to Jinling. The TV series had been shooting for 6 days, and the first 2 episodes had been shot. Relying on the modern mature film and television production system, the shooting speed of TV series was very fast, especially for weekend dramas. It was normal to shoot 2 episodes in 6 or 7 days. Many low-cost web dramas could even shoot 1 episode a day. The efficiency was simply unimaginable for previous practitioners. However, shooting 2 episodes of Autumn in My Heart in 6 days still worried Lu Chen. Could he achieve the quality he wanted in such a short period of time? The memory from the dream world made Lu Chen take the high-speed train back to Jinling with an uneasy mood. He couldn't wait to see the first version of the finished video, which was the so-called original film in the industry. Nowadays, film and television production had long abandoned film, and all used high-specification, high-quality digital cameras. The original film referred to the unedited content that was shot in the early stage of the film and television series. It did not go through post-stage dubbing, soundtrack, special effects, etc., and it was a semi-finished product. The original film completed post-processing and became a finished film before it could be released on the market. However, by watching the original film, one could basically see the quality of the film and television series, as well as the level of the director, actors, and the entire crew. Lu Chen's doubts disappeared after watching the first 2 episodes of the original film. Director Fong Hui was worthy of her reputation in the circle. The opening episode of Autumn in My Heart was very interesting. Using the ancient city of Jinling as the background, it fully showed the youth of the male and female protagonists. The director combined the feelings between non-blood siblings and the twists and turns of the story that was destined to become a tragedy, forming the basic background of the overall situation, which made people want to continue watching. In a hospital, 2 babies were born on the same day, but because of a child in Juanxi, the identity nameplates of the 2 children were swapped. The 2 babies began 2 completely different lives. The baby from a rich family went to a single mother's family, while the baby from a single-parent family went to a rich and happy family and grew up happily. This was where the prologue to the story began. The 2 babies who had been transferred had unknowingly lived in 2 completely different families for 14 years. But because of a traffic accident, Professor Yun realized that the daughter he had raised for 14 years had a different blood type from his own. After further investigation, they found out that the hospital had made a mistake, causing the two babies born that day to be swapped. However, after discussing it with Mrs. Een, they wanted to pretend that nothing had happened, but the heavens played tricks on them. Professor Yin's real daughter, Cui Shinai, had been living a very hard life in a single-parent family. When she found out that she was a rich daughter, she decided to leave her single mother, who had raised her for 14 years, and go to the rich Professor Yin's family. Cui Shinai was jealous of Yun Eunhui, so she decreed that Yun Eunhui would have to live the same miserable life as before. Knowing that she had to return to her biological mother, Eunhui could only watch her beloved adoptive parents and brother immigrate to the United States. When Lu Chen arrived at Jinling, the filming of the third episode had already begun. According to the script, he would appear at the end of this episode. After the first 2 episodes had passed the review, they would immediately enter the post-production stage. Since there weren't many special effects, the post-production process would also be very fast. When Lu Chen wrote the script for Autumn in My Heart, he didn't completely copy the memory of the dream world. He made appropriate adjustments to the plot and settings to make it more in line with the reality. In addition, he also had to write a suitable theme song for Autumn in My Heart. Therefore, Lu Chen's work would be very busy. Therefore, he simply booked a long-term business suite in a hotel near the film city until the filming of a total of 20 episodes of Autumn in My Heart was completed. According to the average shooting speed of 2 episodes a week, he would need to stay here for almost 2 months. Li Feiyu also came over, and Lu Chen rented a single room for him. The cost of renting the hotel was included in the cost, and there were specific provisions in the contract, so there was no need to save. On the afternoon of the 23rd, Chen Fei also arrived at Jinling. Compared to Lu Chen, the Queen of Music's daily schedule was basically full, but in order to film Autumn in My Heart, she pushed back a lot of originally scheduled activities and rushed over in advance. If she calculated the benefits and costs, the benefits she received from Autumn in My Heart might not be able to make up for the loss during this period of time. However, Chen Fei was very happy, because in the next 2 months, she would be with Lu Chen. She lived in the same hotel as Lu Chen, and the room was next to Lu Chen's. When she came to Jinling again because she knew that she would be staying for a long time, Chen Fei brought a lot of bags and a lot of assistant bodyguards, and there were 3 cars. When she settled down in the hotel, it was already dark. However, she didn't rush to eat dinner, but first knocked on Lu Chen's door. As soon as Lu Chen opened the door, the beauty threw herself into his arms with a fragrant wind. He hurriedly hugged Chen Fei, and at the same time, closed the door quickly, so as not to be seen by others. Of course, ordinary people wouldn't appear here. The hotel had received countless stars, so it was very good in terms of security. Even the pervasive reporters wouldn't be able to sneak in and harass them. However, it was always right to be careful. The two were still in the stage of a secret relationship, so it couldn't be exposed for the time being. Chen Fei put her arms around Lu Chen's waist, looked up and asked with a smile, "Did you miss me these days?" As a mature woman, once she let go of her heart, she was bold and enthusiastic, like the sun at noon, emitting a light that people didn't dare to look directly at. Lu Chen felt that his heart had been melted, and he said, "Yes." He lowered his head and kissed Chen Fei's red lips. The two had already broken through this boundary. But Chen Fei giggled, turned her head and didn't let him succeed. She said angrily, "You still have the nerve to say that you miss me. May I ask who is singing a love song with another girl in public?" Lu Chen smiled bitterly. Lin Jijie was right. Chen Fei was really jealous. He explained, "I think Xiaochu is a younger sister. Didn't you already know that?" Chen Fei snorted and said, "You think Xiaochu is a younger sister, but Xiaochu doesn't think of you as a brother. Do you think I don't know?" She hummed softly, "I really want to ask you, do you have any feelings for me?" It was a section of "You Are a Song in My Heart," and the lyrics and intonation were very accurate. Chen Fei stared at him. "You wrote it, right?" At the MSN Platinum celebration party that day, she received a gracious invitation from Flying Stone Records. Chen Fei didn't go, because on the one hand, she had work arrangements, and on the other hand, her identity was not very suitable. But she saw the video of the celebration party later. She watched it on a blog. Of course, Chen Fei knew that Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu had no ambiguous relationship, but watching the two singing affectionately on the stage and this song, she couldn't help but feel sour in her heart. She had endured it until now to vent it out. Fortunately, she didn't watch the live broadcast of Whale TV, otherwise she would have exploded directly. Fans were shouting for Lu Chen to be with Mu Xiaochu, but not many people mentioned her name. In fact, apart from the coat of the heavenly queen, Chen Fei was not much different from an ordinary woman. If you like someone, you have to occupy him alone, and you can't allow others to share him. Lu Chen didn't explain and directly kissed her to stop her mouth. This time he succeeded. Chen Fei was caught off guard. She resisted, but her strength was not as great as Lu Chen's. She could not resist, so she had to accept her fate. But soon she began to cater to him with enthusiasm. After a few minutes of deep kissing, Lu Chen reluctantly let go. Chen Fei's delicate face was flushed, and her whole body was soft. Looking at Lu Chen, who was somewhat triumphant, she said angrily, "Don't think that's it. You have to write a love song for me to sing. I want to put it in the new album." Chen Fei's new album has received enough work so far. In addition to the 3 songs written by Lu Chen for her, the other 9 songs were written by famous artists, and there was no problem with their quality and style. If it weren't for the shooting of Autumn in My Heart, she could start recording this important album. At this time, if she changed to a love song sung by a man and a woman, it would undoubtedly disrupt the plan. But she didn't care. She was so capricious. Lu Chen said with a smile, "No problem. I'm thinking of writing a theme song for Autumn in My Heart." Chen Fei's eyes suddenly lit up. "That's a good idea. Do you have any inspiration?" Lu Chen said, "Yes, but first I have to discuss it with you to see if it's suitable." The theme song of a TV series was not particularly important, but a good theme song could definitely add a lot of color to the TV series, and it had an advantage in publicity. Many classic theme songs of TV series were still sung today. This idea was a temporary idea. Although it was intended to make Chen Fei happy, it was also an objective need. Most importantly, it would be an excellent publicity point. The only problem was which love song to choose, which love song would be more suitable for Autumn in My Heart. In his memory, there were many love songs sung by a man and a woman. Chen Fei was happy. She and Lu Chen starred in the TV series, and the theme song with Lu Chen would be put in the album. The relationship between the two was naturally very close. Chapter 247. Be gentle, it hurts a little. Can you be a little bit heavier now? So comfortable. A strange voice rang out in the room. It was so charming and soft that it could make one's blood boil. Chen Fei was lying on a leisure soft chair. Her starry eyes were half closed, her pretty face was flushed, and countless fine beads of sweat oozed out of her crystal-clear jade-like forehead, which glittered under the illumination of the indoor lights. She bit her red lips tightly, and her slender and graceful body twisted unnaturally, as if she was holding back something. Lu Chen raised his head and asked with a smile, "My kung fu is good, right?" Chen Fei opened her eyes, and there was a flash of shyness and sweetness in them. She nodded and said, "You're amazing." Her sincere praise made Lu Chen feel that his hard work was not in vain. He put down Chen Fei's little feet and said, "There is nothing wrong with your other internal organs, but your stomach is a little bad. It's best to find an old Chinese medicine practitioner to prescribe some Chinese medicine to nourish your stomach. Also, remember to eat regularly." When Chen Fei came over, she was a little tired and not very energetic. Out of pity, Lu Chen personally gave her a foot massage and found that the area corresponding to her stomach had a strong reaction. In fact, it was normal for celebrities to have a bad stomach. Although they looked glamorous on the surface, they often had to work very hard behind the scenes. If they encountered a harsh entertainment agency, they would have to risk their lives. An irregular diet was really a child's play. There were even celebrities who passed out from exhaustion from running a series of jobs. Although Chen Fei opened her own studio and worked for herself, she was in the entertainment industry. Many times she had no choice but to work hard. It was inevitable that she would be tired. Chen Fei nodded obediently and said, I usually do yoga. I'll go to Tongren Medicine Hall when I go back to the capital. She moved her body lazily and said, I really want to sleep. Then sleep here with me. Lu Chen stood up, reached out his hands and picked her up, ready to send her to his bedroom. A standard princess carry. Chenfe revealed an intoxicating smile and said softly, I'd better go back. Although she said that, she shrunk herself into Lu Chen's arms, as if she was a kitten begging for love, making people reluctant to abandon her. Lu Chen couldn't help lowering his head and gently pecking her pretty face, saying, Go to sleep, I'll tell Sister Zhang. Chenfe closed his eyes, a smile still on his face. On the way from Jing City to Jinling, she only had a casual dinner. She was really tired now. She just wanted to lean on Lu Chen's arms and have a good sleep. She didn't have to think about anything else. He didn't even bother to take a shower. Ding ling ling, Lu Chen had just placed Chenfe on his bed when the phone on the bedside table suddenly rang. He quickly picked it up. Hello. The call was from the front desk of the hotel. Lu Chen said a few words to the other side and then hung up. Chenfe asked, What's wrong? She was so confused that she could hardly keep her eyes open, and she didn't hear clearly what Lu Chen was saying to others. Lu Chen smiled bitterly. It's Sister Li. She brought Zhang Juanji here and wants to see me. This five-star hotel, which often received all kinds of stars, was very strict. The floor where he lived had comprehensive security. Visitors needed to get permission to come up to avoid being harassed by paparazzi and fans. Chenfe suddenly woke up and her sleepiness disappeared. She sat up and said, Sister Li is here. Sister Li was Li Jinjin, the boss of the Rainbow Agency in the capital. Zhang Juanji was her only son and the protagonist of the first 3 episodes of Autumn in My Heart, young In Juanji. Otherwise, if someone else came over, it would be okay for Lu Chen to politely refuse. He had to give face to Sister Li. Chenfe had a very good relationship with Sister Li. Although they were not close friends, they were real friends. So when she heard Sister Li running over, she subconsciously felt guilty. In fact, how could Sister Li not know the relationship between Chenfe and Lu Chen? She just didn't know that Chenfe was lying on Lu Chen's bed at this moment. Otherwise, she would never run over to be a third wheel. Chenfe said in a panic, I'll go back first. If she was seen by Sister Li now, she would be so ashamed. Lu Chen shook his head and held Chenfe in his arms. Why go back? Sister Li is not an outsider. We don't need to sneak in front of her. Let's see her together. Lu Chen's thoughtfulness made Chenfe feel touched and sweet. She said, Okay then. She knew and fell in love with Lu Chen. In fact, there had always been a knot in her heart. That was, she was much older than Lu Chen. She was worried that if her feelings were exposed, it would cause others to criticize her. She was fine with it, but Lu Chen was under a lot of pressure. Lu Chen's words just untied the knot in her heart. Even if she didn't have the idea of announcing her relationship for the time being, at least in front of an acquaintance like Sister Li, she really didn't need to deliberately hide it. Even so, she still pushed Lu Chen out. You take care of Sister Li first. I need to freshen up. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. He went outside to the living room and soon heard the doorbell ring. Lu Chen opened the door and saw the 2 visitors. He greeted them warmly, Good evening, Sister Li. Hello, Xiaoji. Zhang Juanji was very polite. He saluted and said, Hello, Brother Lu Chen. Sister Li said with a smile, Lu Chen, sorry to disturb you. You didn't rest, did you? Lu Chen said with a smile, Not at all. Sister Li, please come in. After entering the living room and the 3 of them sat down, Lu Chen asked curiously, Sister Li, you didn't stay in the hotel? Sister Li replied, No, I stayed with Xiaoji in the crew's dormitory. She explained, The main thing is to let him experience the group life in the crew, so that he can be independent in the future. Lu Chen nodded. What a pitiful parent. Seeing Sister Li, Lu Chen couldn't help but think of his own mother. He would find time to go back again. Sister Li took the portable thermos from her son's hand and handed it to Lu Chen. She said, I knew you were coming today, so I cooked a pot of ginseng and wolfberry chicken soup in the dormitory in the afternoon. It was very nourishing. Lu Chen was surprised. He took it and said, "Thank you, Sister Li. You are really..." A pot of ginseng chicken soup was not worth much money, but it showed her intention and sincerity. Sister Li said with a smile, "You're welcome. I'm good friends with Faith. She often drinks my soup." "Of course not." As soon as she finished speaking, a coquettish voice came from the room. "I haven't drunk Sister Li's soup for a long time." Sister Li was stunned. She turned her head and said in a tone of disbelief, "Who else could it be but Chen Fei?" The heavenly queen appeared in front of the bedroom door with a smile. She had just washed her face and was full of energy. Her long hair was tied casually behind her with a rubber band. She was still very beautiful without any makeup. "Sister Li, you are so biased. You make soup for him but not for me." Sister Li was a little shocked, but when she came to her senses, her eyes showed a teasing look. She said, "You too." Chen Fei was in Lu Chen's room like this. Was there a need to say more about their relationship? Sister Li was ready to tease them. Unfortunately, she did not come alone. Her son, Zhang Juanji, was by her side. Those inappropriate words could not be said. Zhang Juanji did not think too much. When he saw Chen Fei, he jumped up happily. "Sister Fei." Chen Fei walked over and touched his head. "Little Ji, have you been naughty recently?" Zhang Juanji said with a bitter face. "Sister Fei, good boy." Chen Fei held back her laughter and sat down next to Lu Chen. She hugged his arm naturally. Sister Li was very curious. "Are you two planning to make it official?" Chen Fei shook his head and said, "No. Sister Li, you also know that it's not suitable for us to make it public now. We'll talk about it in the future. Of course, there's no need to hide it in front of you." She looked at Lu Chen with tender and sweet eyes. "That's what Lu Chen said just now." Sister Li sighed in her heart. As someone who had been through this, she knew that Chen Fei had completely fallen in love. Although she did not know whether the relationship between the two of them could last, she also wished for it in her heart. Sister Li said to Lu Chen very seriously, "Lu Chen is a good girl. There are really not many people in the entertainment circle who can be as clean as her. You must cherish her." Lu Chen said, "I understand, Sister Li." Zhang Juanji interrupted and said, "Sister Fei, if Brother Lu Chen bullies you, I'll beat him up for you." He wasn't very young. He understood a lot of things. Treating Chen Fei was no different from treating his own sister. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Chen Fei teased him. "Your brother Lu Chen is very good at fighting. You can't beat him." Zhang Juanji thought for a moment and said, "I can learn if I can't beat him. Brother Lu Chen, can you accept me as your disciple?" Chen Fei laughed so hard that he covered his mouth with his hand. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I'll teach you so that you can beat me?" Sister Li said with a smile, "Don't listen to Xiaoji's nonsense, but I really hope that he can learn something from you. He also wants to sing after filming. Can you give him some advice?" Zhang Juanji said, "Brother Lu Chen, I also want to make a record." Sister Li said, "He has loved music since he was a child. He can play the guitar and the piano, and he can also play the violin. He wants to be a big star like his father, and he wants to be better than his father." Zhang Juanji was annoyed. "Mom, don't mention him." Sister Li said with a smile, "Okay, I won't mention him." "So that's how it is." Lu Chen understood a little and felt quite touched. The story of Sister Li and Zhang Juanji's father was well known in the circle. Very few people could be as open-minded as her. To put it bluntly, many men did not have the same breadth of mind and bearing as Sister Li. However, she truly loved her son dearly. If Zhang Juanji wanted to act, she would find him. If he wanted to make a record, she would come to him. She was not afraid of wronging herself. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.